building bridges with every word he speaks. From comic books to culture, for the future he seeks. With every panel, his legacy cries. John Boo, a patriarch, a father takes flight. A specter of culture, he conjures a fight. Every heroic tale, a flickering light. The ink flows like blood from the tip of his pen. A father's burden, his message to send. A father's burden, his message to send. The world craves a hero's embrace, and the father's heart will find the right place. With ink as his roller, with dreams in his sight, he balances panels. With patriarch's might, with every panel, his legacy cries. John Boo, a patriarch, a father takes flight. Through trials and triumphs, he walks on a thread between tales of power and the tears that he shed. A choice that defines him, a heart filled with fire, to be the hero they need, or the father desire. The hero they need, the father desire. The world craves a hero's embrace, and the father's heart will find the right place. With ink as his roller, with dreams in his sight, he balances panels. With patriarch's might, the world aflame, a hero's sacrifice, but his family's love is worth the price. In the long box of life where the stories unfold, he's the patriarch, he broke the mold. His laughter rings, his tales ignite. On blue shines on, burns through the light. He's building bridges with every word he speaks. From comic books to culture, for the future he seeks. In the long box of life where the stories unfold, he's a patriarch, he broke the mold. His laughter rings, his tales ignite. John Brewer shines on, burns through the blight. He's building bridges with every word he speaks. From comic books to culture, for the future he seeks. John Brewer shines on, burns through the blight. John's long box so long, every layer's delight.
Voilà.
Hello, hello.
Howdy. Uh-oh, something's wrong.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah,
you.
you're doing.
You should just leave it like that. Yeah, just leave it.
Go
like
on. Go on.
I can't hear me. That's weird. Okay.
Go on.
Well, yeah, you got your deep voice.
Yeah.
Testing.
Still
That's good. Sounds right to me. Sounds normal.
Huh, weird. Can't hear myself. Maybe that's for the best. But
okay.
anyway, hey, ladies and gentlemen. We will be discussing... What's that?
You're in deep echo mode. The ship is reminding me of the Vasa in Sweden.
Oh, no.
You guys
wrong?
familiar?
Just roll. You're fine. Your audio's fine. Just roll with it.
Yeah, it's good.
I think I fixed it.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, you're
Good
going
now.
Yeah, that's better.
There you
That's
go.
better. Actually, a little higher. A little higher.
A little higher. Is this better?
Perfect.
That's about
Perfect.
perfect. Yeah.
So anyway, we have our illustrious guest, John's Longbox. I don't know if that's a commentary on something else, but anyway, we have our hosts, obviously, A.C Pritchard, Mr. Everly Music, Sir Justin, and Sauce Boy himself, Joe Batts. Hail. And today we will be discussing John's comic project as well as the DC animated flick, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. Woo!
All right, now Kahuna, knock it down one more octave, and then you'll be good.
Could you hear any of that? I can't hear myself.
Yeah,
I
we
have
can
no.
hear it all.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. That's perfect. That's gonna be a good clip. That intro.
Dude, I can't hear it. I have no idea.
Yeah, everybody's just gonna think you're really fast.
Yeah, we'll slow
I'm gonna
it
sound
down.
like Ben Shapiro again.
Yep.
Go on.
All right. Wow. Kahuna says he
Anyway,
wants to
take it away.
intro, and then he starts fumbling around with his headphones and everything. What's going on here, Kahuna? All right. Well, we have a show this week.
Testing.
Yes.
We do have a show this week.
Yeah. We have some story writing things we're going to talk about after the Mask of Phantasm. But we also joined with our special guest, John Longbox, and we'll talk about his project a little bit. But yeah, I was we haven't had an in-between show week this week, so how's everybody been doing? Kahuna, how you been? Yeah, okay, we can't hear you. Okay,
I hear you, buddy.
I know. He's fumbling around. Batch, you go to him first. I wasn't sure if that was on purpose. Like he's clearly not ready. Kahuna, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. AC.
Okay.
Well, I've been hard at work knocking out like an entire album. It's basically done, but I'm gonna do a special 3-part song based on my unreleased novel, and I'm gonna put a little bit of extra care into that. So, anybody interested, that's over on the Pritchard Pub YouTube under playlists. It's my musical mini book series. The four songs that are out right now are based on my published book on Amazon. So.
Mortal Descent. Fantastic book, by the way.
Yes.
Pick it up.
Thanks, boss. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all fixed, man. Whatever was wrong, no longer a problem.
Hell yeah.
Well done.
Right.
It's the hat. It's the new hat. It's throwing everything off. Honestly,
That's what I
Well,
do.
then take over because I don't want to do this.
That's fine. Justin, how's your week been, my man?
It's been pretty good. Although I'm doing like slight studio upgrades. I semi rebuilt the desk that everything's sitting on, so that's nice because now it's level.
Is it a real desk or is it like a folding
No,
table like
dude.
I used for a long time?
I will send you a picture of my setup afterward. It is whenever we moved into this house and I decided it was time for me to get handy. This is the first thing I tried to build, and boy, you could tell it's the first thing I tried to build. But it's it's upright, which is nice. There's a lot of tape, which is cool. But I got a new monitor. It's not new. It was used, but it's new to me. And the thing is angled. Like it's like got the slant to it, and you can't adjust it. So I'm like, keep feeling like I gotta go like this. Other than that, though, going well.
Sweet. Mr. Batts, how's your week been, my man?
No, not bad. I don't know what's going on with my mic, but posting some vids on my channel, getting some traction.
You sound as homosexual as usual. Nothing has
course,
deviated. It's obviously the same.
Yeah. No groundhogs to kill to report this week, so groundhogs are safe.
Are you going to use a belt next time? Jesus.
Yeah, really. Use your shoe, bare hands next time.
I was sparing it some. I could have used the full force of my karate chop, but I was trying to.
I want to be a neighbor, just like enjoying his coffee, going to the mailbox, and you see bats across the street, karate chopping a groundhog.
Yeah, but that's about it.
All right,
Yeah.
let's see. And John, how has your week been, my man?
Pretty good. Just I'm in limbo. You know, for those of you who don't know, I was in a car accident and I broke my neck and I've been out of work. So I just go to sleep when I'm tired. I wake up when I'm awake. You know, like I lose track of days. So I'm kind of in limbo. 3 months in this neck brace. I get to take it off tomorrow. So that's
Congratulations, dude. Sorry about the car accident. I was so upset when I heard about it, man. But hey, it could be a lot worse. My buddy's dad, he got wiped out on a beach and never got back up. That was it.
Oh God.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Seatbelt saved my life. Seatbelt and airbag saved my life.
Nice.
All right, so guys, we want to start with the movie.
Like we always do.
I'm just checking, man. You never know. Sometimes as we all know, Joe likes spontaneity and changing the order of things and having no structure. So,
Yeah,
Justin,
do
you have a rundown for us, my man?
Boy, do I. I sure do.
Boy,
I got a
howdy.
rundown
Give
ready
us a
to go.
rundown.
All right. So we watched Mask of the Phantasm, or Samus of the Phantasm, as I call it. Batman is framed for the murder of Chucky Soul, setting off a chain reaction of events that forces Bruce Wayne to confront his past in ways that may put the Dark Knight's future in jeopardy forever. Now, when Bruce's old love, Andrea Beaumont, a.k.a. Samus, returns to Gotham City, things start to unravel for the Batman, and soon he becomes Gotham Police's primary target. Convinced Batman's guilty of mysterious murders committed by a figure known only as the Phantasm. This is truly Batman's most desperate hour. It's rated PG. It scores like an 8 out of 10 across various platforms. Seems pretty beloved out there. It's a cool 1 hour and 16 minutes, which I love, even in regular speed. It didn't take too long, to get through it. But I was sort of surprised because it is so well received and loved and talked about and all that. Obviously, it won our little poll. $6 million budget. Only made $5.6 million in theaters.
Ouch.
That is the
I always hate
rundown.
when these kind of movies like that are so popular now. It's like it turns out they were not really a financial success when they first came out.
I saw it in the
Old
movies.
You saw it in theaters?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. Me and my friends went, and I still to this day say it was the best Batman movie that I saw in the theater.
Yeah, it's kind of quintessential
it's
Batman.
up there. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was good, but it was a lot better when the follow-on movie that was basically the same, just better and better character. Red Hood is just a better mask, not a girl boss like we saw in Mask of Phantasm. I'm fogging up. I can't see shit in this.
You heard it. He's
Welcome to my
fagging up.
world.
It's all that. It's that red mask, obviously. So yeah, no. Obviously, the better Batman movie won, not the best movie on option there on buffet, but the best Batman movie obviously won the poll this week.
It's no Superman.
It's crazy. It basically is like the same format. Red Hood.
You said that, and I have a bone to pick with you, and not the fun kind like you like. No, the bone I have to pick with you has to do with the fact you said that they are basically the same. There's an element of that, but no, they're not. The position of the antagonist and who they are to Bruce Wayne fundamentally changes the kind of story it is.
Yeah, that's the big difference. But it's somebody from their past that they have a deep relationship with, right? That person goes away and then has a bone to pick with specifically the Joker, and they come back in like a mask thing and they kick Batman's ass, whatever. Like it's kind of the same story.
In a sense, but no, again, the main difference that I pointed out and you agreed upon is such a fundamental change that it makes the movie feel very, very drastically different. AC, are you okay, buddy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not as good, is what it is.
Getting attacked by a bear or something. Yeah, I'm good, guys. I'll be right back.
It was a little one. It was fine, guys. Just keep going.
Batman never to the Red Hood. Thank you, Seabats. I really appreciate your wise commentary. So, John, you saw this. This came out in 1993. Is that right?
Oh, I
Yeah,
forgot this was the year,
me and a couple of friends saw it. I was a big fan of Batman the animated series. I'm reading I was reading Batman earlier today. I'm a big fan of Batman, and I still say the animated series is my favorite version of Batman. It's got the right mix of everything. And when the movie came out, I remember going to see it, and I was no longer working at the comic book store. I was packing up to move across country, but I go to the comic book store and I talked about, And I remember everybody in the store was all like snooty. Oh, you saw that? The animation cells were exposed, and the animation was. I'm like, I thought it was great. Like I don't know, like these like back then they were like so picky that apparently there was one scene where you saw like a shadow of I'm like, I didn't see that. I was too wrapped up in a great story. And they're like, I was like, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this movie nails a couple things that a lot of other Batman movies, animated or otherwise, don't. And that is Gotham feels like its own individual, realized in the film place. A lot of time Gotham in movies just feels like, Chicago on a good week.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And this movie, the music, the atmosphere, the visuals, arguably simplistic, but I think that adds to the quality of the film. It makes the more artistic shots of Batman with the eyes and the darkness. It makes it hit so much more because there's nothing else distracting you in the background. It's just a very artistically focused film.
And there's something about Batman with an Art Deco art style that just works so well. And I know people don't like the new Batman movie, but the new Batman movie is my favorite Gotham. 'Cause they make that Art Deco grungy, dirty, and like Gotham.
The Robert Pattinson one?
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it worth
the
my
city?
time?
Like I'm not gonna. I do like the movie, although everybody seems to hate it. But the city itself, Gotham, it's Art Deco and an industrial park put together. They do a really good job. Like the Christopher Nolan films, that might as well be Manhattan or Chicago, or
it is Chicago in certain shots.
Yeah, it looks like it, But the animated Mask of the Phantasm, which is also set in the animated series,
same universe,
and the Robert Pattinson Batman, great Gotham cities, great whether you like them or not. I'm glad you said that. It's my favorite Gotham City.
Oh, what also had a good, ironically had a good Gotham, a weird movie that did. The Batman versus the Ninja Turtles. They had a Gotham setting in there that was very based out of the older comics, and it was like, this is actually a pretty good Gotham. It's not. It's a weird praise to give that movie, but yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be dark. It's supposed to be a place you don't want to live in. The Christopher Nolan, except for Bane showing up, it looked like a pretty clean, expensive place to live. That's not supposed to be Gotham. You're stuck in Gotham.
Yeah, there's a lot of praise I would levy towards the Nolan trilogy, but the more comic accurate representation of Gotham wasn't really there. Yeah. And to be fair, I don't think they wanted to do that.
No.
Yeah, wanted it to feel more like a real place in the real world, and I think for what they were going for, Nolan succeeded. It just, again, we appreciate a realistic, like a good.
I think Nolan was going for more realistic everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he tried.
How do we feel about Batman having a girlfriend?
It happens so often in the comics. It just felt. I'm like, oh, it's a redhead this time. Okay.
Yeah, but like one before he became Batman, and like almost didn't become Batman because of her.
It's kind of like the same thing happens in several Daredevil stories, which obviously Daredevil and Batman have always kind of worked off of one another in terms of tone and storylines and basic kind of premises. John, have any of you read any Daredevil to compare and kind of know what I'm talking about?
I read Daredevil. Jeez.
Man Without Fear is one of the best introductory
I got every
comics.
Daredevil comic from issue 1. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, dude. Yeah. But yeah, no, like there in several Daredevil stories, he has a girlfriend vigilantism, that he almost goes down a very different path because of it. And even with Elektra, if he had stayed with Elektra, he probably would have become a criminal, frankly. But
can't say.
With Batman, I feel like they start off this movie and he's got the girlfriend talking about how we feel about that, and she's not going to stick around. So it was I couldn't feel any emotional attachment to her at all, because I'm like, I know this isn't going to work out. So it's just, why? Because he, as far as I know, he never marries anybody, right?
No, he has in the comics, but there's so many different versions of the comics. It's hard to, everything has happened at some point. He was the Green Lantern for his comic run at one point.
I was hoping against hope, I guess I'll say, that he was actually going to end up with her and have some semblance of like a family again and like all that, and of course,
No.
can't
Frankly, Justin, any properly executed Batman romance plotline is going to end in tragedy.
Yep.
And I would
I
like
was
to have a
hoping that
comic
was the
that's
case.
good and also ends happily romantically for him, but it's a very it doesn't really fit with his philosophy, because the most important thing to Bruce Wayne and Batman most of the time is his mission. And
Sure,
so
but-
everything else will be sacrificed and set to the side.
They've
this is-
taken a lot of liberties with Batman as a character, right? In a lot of different ways. Surely having him settle down couldn't be the worst, branch they could take, maybe as a one-off or what have you.
Look, it's coming from somebody who enjoyed the movie. I'm gonna be pretty critical because I don't know if there is anyone who could get Batman to consider not being Batman.
No, it can't.
Well, this was before he really was Batman, though. So I mean, that's the only kind of defense I would
He was
levy in that.
Batman the moment his parents were killed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Take that.
That was the moment. That was the defining moment of his life. So it's like asking Dexter not to kill. Dexter's going to pretend to be happy, and maybe even lie to himself. But Dexter is going to kill again. Batman is going to put on this. Bruce Wayne, okay, I'm retiring. I'm with Vicky Vale. I'm with whatever. And then after a while, he's just something's gonna happen, and it's almost like he's having an affair. His wife's like, "Were you wearing the Batman costume again?"
It's like the first Incredible movie. Yeah, no, he's like he will always go back to it.
Yeah,
And John, I'll make something clear real quick. I love and respect your opinion, but do not agree with Joe. It's a rule of the show. we don't back him up in any argument. Period.
Oh.
That's just how it is. Especially when he's wearing like a gay lover's mask. I'm not sure, but yeah. No, but Joe, what were some other criticisms of the movie? I have a few of my own.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it was very enjoyable, and like, look, this is my honest opinion. I do think Red Hood is like this story done better, because I think using a dead Robin, versus an old girlfriend is just more suiting for Batman's character. Also, the fact that the costume, I don't really see how the costume connects to her at all. Like, I don't know what the hook hand is. And then also, I don't know how she can.
She had some
outfight
real
Batman.
strong linebacker shoulders in costume. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could have put in just like a couple simple lines. Is this based off of a comic too? Was it an adaptation or was it its own story?
It was Batman Year 2 by Mike W. Barr and I think Jim Aparo, where they introduced the Phantasm character.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
I think I can't remember who the Phantasm was in the comic, but
It was someone else. Yeah.
it was
Oh,
somebody
okay.
else.
Yeah,
And if
I
you
wish
bought
in,
the toy, they had the little action figure. The action figure had part of the mask, like the mask would come off, and then you'd see it was the red head underneath. But the mask itself had almost like football shoulder pads on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
so-
So the costume itself was disguising that she was a girl.
A female.
Yeah,
The
I thought that
design's really
suit
cool.
design. Yes,
But,
I
like,
love that design.
How does she outfight Batman? Because like in the Red
Yes,
Hood, it makes
thank you.
sense because he knows, like, before Batman knows that he's a Robin, like Robin knows Batman's moves. But once Batman figures out that he's Jason Todd, then Batman
Kicks
wins.
his ass. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is very like thematical and keeps on with like Batman. So I don't like, they show that she like out judoed him in the beginning, but like,
Yeah,
how?
yeah. I had that same. I was fighting with a guy.
I
about
think
that
she.
today.
I don't think she out
like, come on, he probably was,
outfought
like,
him. I think she
240.
just kind of escaped because that was her. It's
Well,
a lot
she-
easier to escape someone than it is to outfight someone.
Judo
of
flipped him
greater
though.
skill.
She game flipped him over. The
Yeah,
classic move.
yeah, and I'm the best boxer I ever met. I punched him in the nose one time. My life flashed before my eyes. I forgave. I asked my ancestors for forgiveness, thinking I was dead the next moment.
But how
Luckily,
did
I
she
wasn't.
learn to become a crime fighter?
Yeah.
Like Batman learned from the League of Shadows and blah 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 blah. She just did.
Yeah, and I thought too they were going to give her some backstory, like at least a line or two that said she was in a certain type of engineering, or just show she was exploring that gas and like, hey, I'm working on this gas that whenever it goes off, you can't see. Like, it's just anything to try and make it make sense. And it just, to me, I didn't. Whenever she was revealed as the Phantasm, I was like, what? Come on.
Wait, you didn't see that coming?
Yeah, right.
Well, no, because I was like, she's a tiny little girl, and the Phantasm is kicking butt and being like, and she doesn't have the backstory yet. So I assumed it actually was going to be her dad, and he faked his own death. And I was like, that'll be interesting. I figured it was a dude under the suit because that would have made a lot more sense.
That's what
I mean, the
like-
first clue is her thighs were something substantial.
5'6"
that was the first clue.
thighs. Is that
Well, the judo flip was really all, and also all the flashbacks. It's like it's not going to be the father. Like, I don't know. It's very obviously her. And that's
I guess maybe
exact
I just
same type of
didn't really
flashbacks
know.
were done with Robin in the Red Hood.
Speaking of that movie, the voice for the Joker in that film is atrociously bad. I've heard so many interpretations. That one is the worst.
In the Red Hood,
Yes,
it's fine.
it's terrible.
It's not the best. But
It's awful.
fine. No, the Killing Joke was bad.
He sounds like he's gargling salt water and choking on cock. It's terrible.
It's not as bad as the Killing Joke Joker.
As the what?
The Killing Joke Joker. Oh, actually, no, that was Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
They
No,
look
that one was
terrible.
great. What are you
It looked
smoking?
terrible. That was horrible.
You're trying. Go ahead and search for one that's worse. I dare you. You won't find one.
Well, it's because Mark Hamill does almost all of them.
Oh yeah, and that's why it's so good. All right, but yeah, no, it's cool that John got to see it in theaters. I'm vintage '94, so obviously I couldn't see it in theaters. But yeah, AC, you've been gone for a minute. Do you have any thoughts on the movie you want to share?
Boom. Jared Leto.
Yes, he is worse, but his voice was better. We're talking about voices here. Oh, AC might be distracted.
AC's
yeah,
having
frozen.
internet issues.
Jared
I
Leto.
will
what was he in the second Suicide Squad or the first one?
He
I'm
was in the
forgetting.
first one. He was like
Yeah.
the drug lord Joker with it said like hurt or something on his forehead or like
yeah.
in
Wasn't it
pain.
like the Enchantress
Oh,
was the
this one was bad.
I watched that movie.
Oh, yeah, that one was
Remember
almost as bad. Yeah. I think most people try to forget that the Suicide Squad movies exist. I saw the first one in theaters twice, and I fell asleep. Twice.
Oh, wow.
In
I thought it was
theaters.
watchable, but it wasn't good. But if you wanted like a superhero movie, you could do worse. There's
the
certainly
second one
not
any
that that's
good?
a high bar, but
What was that,
Second one was
John?
enjoyable.
Is it?
Yeah,
I
it was
never
good.
saw it.
It wasn't
Yeah.
like the second one wasn't bad. I mean, it has nothing to do with it. It would have been a lot better if, honestly, like Harley Quinn was good in it, but the movie would have been way better without her because it was definitely focused on her, and it just
Yeah.
it like messed
She
with
was-
the story in a bad way. But let's talk
Why do
Master
they-
Phantasm.
Why do they keep making Harley Quinn the main character of different like TV shows and movies?
Because one year she blew up
no, but
for
she's
all
never meant to be
cosplay.
she was never meant to be a main character. She doesn't have enough substance there.
because people who don't get comic books like her.
yeah.
Of course.
I mean,
That's
like
fair.
I had a birthday party, and I rented out like a big room. And I'm a big board gamer, so everybody came and played board games. A friend of mine brought his fiance, never read a comic book, never played them, and she had a Harley Quinn shirt and everything like that. And I was right then and there. I was just like, I hate Harley Quinn. It's
Yeah.
like, and I know I'll catch hell for saying this, but like Deadpool and Harley Quinn are the two characters to me that are like, oh, that's your favorite characters. That's because you're not a comic book fan. You know?
Yo, agree.
They're the
Agree.
most common answers for people who really aren't comic book
Right. Oh,
fans.
so that's why. For some reason, everybody's grandmother and mother and sister and your cool aunt, they like Harley Quinn, but they don't buy comic books. So
Yeah.
No, that's true. True.
I mean, what is the other what's another option for that? Maybe like Wolverine. Wolverine's another not.
the Punisher, everybody likes Punisher. Like every
How many people have read a Punisher comic?
Yeah, how many guys have bought a Punisher? I love the Punisher though, but Punisher is the same thing. Everybody has Punisher skulls. Like you're driving down the street, guys got Punisher skull stickers on their car.
Oh,
They know
it's
Wow.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Like with Punisher, I like him, but I always thought his kind of story was always bogged down by the fact that it was in a superhero universe. I'm like, one of these other hombres could probably take him out, no problem.
Right. Yeah.
That was always kind of
my
my
favorite-
disconnect there.
My favorite Punisher movie is it's Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, yes.
Let's talk Mask of Phantasm. That's what
Mask
I
of
will-
Phantasm.
I will say with Mask of
Yeah.
the Phantasm, one thing that I'm jealous of that you got to see it in theaters, John. The score in this movie
Score
is
was
fantastic. It's so good, and the sound effects too. It's just that first fight when Batman punches that dude. It reminds me of the Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. There's I think there's one gunshot in the whole movie, and whenever it happens, it is so loud, it shakes you to your bones.
And that's
I
how
felt
it should
like
be.
a lot of the impact in this movie, they had it cranked up. So when something happened that was, action, it was like louder. And you're like, whoa, geez, at least in my headset. And it hit hard. And that impact with the music, oh, fantastic.
I remember, like, I don't remember because I sat and I was just sucked into the movie. I liked it so much. But I remember there was like a problem that the movie was released too soon and they weren't finished. So I'm wondering if like they fixed the score, because people were complaining that the animation was off. I don't remember any of this. I was just excited with plus we probably drank beers in the parking lot. You know what I mean? So I don't remember anything.
Tailgating for Batman. Nice.
I wasn't like he's drinking beers in the parking lot, going to see Mask of the. I'm not even a twinkle in my father's eye in 1993. What's going on?
Yeah.
Born too late, Kahuna. Born too late.
Apparently, dude. All the music I like was like 10, 20 years old by the time I was born. But no, I really enjoyed this movie, but obviously, like, it's almost not. We almost don't even have to say it because it's so obvious. But Kevin Conroy as Batman,
Oh yeah,
chef's kiss. I mean,
so good.
has there
The
ever been a
fight
better voice for Batman ever?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
It's not even close.
The fight scenes, I'll say too, like really hold up. Like it was very entertaining all the way through.
Yeah, the
And
only thing...
there's like a mystery. What?
Oh no, go ahead.
Sorry, it's like when I talk, I hear myself so loud.
I know. I can hear yourself. Like I can hear the
AC, we
echo in
can
my
fix
own
this.
head.
Mute him real quick. That'll solve the problem.
Is it really bad audio wise? Because I'll take it
Oh no,
off.
you're fine. I'm just
All
yeah.
right.
It's
No,
you
you're
can
good.
tell, but it's not bad.
He can't see it either.
No, AC
there
just
we
muted me.
Yes, he did it. The legend.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
All right, I suppose let like if you had to give it an out of 10 rating for this movie, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, what would you give it? Starting with John.
Me?
Yes, out of 10, what would you give it?
I'd give it an 8, and that's the highest Batman movie rating I'm going to give.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's the only Batman movie, because every other live action, and I haven't seen any other animated movies, but all the other live action movies they aren't Batman. So this
Got the Red Hood.
Batman movie. George Clooney wasn't Batman. Michael Keaton wasn't Batman. I could go on and on and on and explain why these weren't Batman movies, but this is the only Batman movie, so by default, it's the best Batman movie.
Yeah, nope, I can feel that. AC, out of 10, what do you got, man?
I'd give it a solid 8.5, just because it
Wow.
just barely falls short of like the animated series, which is peak Batman. It's unanimous. Animated series is where
my
Batman
favorite.
is. So yeah, I would say it's just under that at like an 8.5. And that 8.5 is probably just a product of I don't know if they would have like put a little bit more into the animation, but they spent 50 mil on it. So I mean, what else? I feel like a lot of that went to the voice actors, though. When you,
I think the
roster.
story was lacking a little bit. I think we could have had a more dynamic story. It's not a bad story, but we've seen a lot of the same kind of Batman stories, and we've seen this one done better. So
I agree with that.
Well, that's the thing. It is all the Batman stories. Yeah, it is all of them. It even has the Joker in it. The quintessential Joker. It's everything wrapped into one. Meaning, the Phantasm is kind of like a different version of Batman in a sense. Like a what if scenario for Batman. You know what I mean? And then you got the Joker there, who's supposed to be the foil, in a way. The whole thing is just like there's all the Batman elements there.
How do we feel about Joker not being
that?
Joker in the beginning?
Oh yeah,
we've seen that in movies before.
Right.
Yeah, but usually it's disliked. I mean, I was like okay with it, but I'm not a fan.
Well, I don't know.
Say,
the Joker is kind of an overplayed character.
I can't stand the Joker. I it's the most overused character all time.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
Right,
if I was
right after,
watching
right
DC,
after
I'd be
Batman.
like,
I
no
agree.
Joker for a couple of years, guys. You know.
How about
And
no? How about
and
no
I don't want to
Batman
know
for
his
like
past.
10
I don't know
years?
anything about him. He's the best when he's just a mystery. And like Chuck Dixon said, every time the Joker shows up, he reinvents himself. So like the whole thing with the three Jokers that's not necessary. Joker is chaos. So if he's inconsistent, that's the thing about the consistent thing about the Joker is he's inconsistent. You know.
Well,
So-
the Joker is only a threat if it's a Batman only story.
Right.
The moment the universe is expanded to the rest of DC, the Joker is pretty much insignificant, unless they find some reason, like make up a reason to make him a pain again. I guess Injustice is maybe an exception, but I'm kind of hit or miss on Injustice.
On that note, then I will say then another criticism then would be that it's a little too busy, even though these are all key Batman elements, and the Joker wasn't even the Joker at the beginning, as you pointed out. But you got the Batman origin story, you got the what if scenario of Batman in the form of Phantasm, you got the opposite of Batman, which is the Joker, and like the key Batman villain, I'll add. You know, it's all there, but maybe a little too busy. If they would have just focused
busy
on
the right way to
Phantasm,
say it.
they
I
could
think
have
the Red
gone
Hood does it
deeper
perfectly.
in a lot of different ways. You know.
Wow, he is just jerking that Red Hood crank. Yeah. Anyway, Justin, did you give an out of 10 rating yet?
I have not, but I would give it a 7 out of 10. There is a lot to like about the movie. I thought we mentioned before the Art Deco style is absolutely dope. The speckled paints and the 2D backgrounds, which I love seeing like 2D and 2D, where it's 2D and 3D mix. There's something about it like takes me out of the movie, so I loved that. The cars, the Art Deco cars, or I mean, just the look of them, they're so damn cool. It's like those old gangster cars, but there's something a little bit different about them. The architecture, great scores we talked about.
The way they used light in the movie was perfect as well. Yeah.
Great sound design. I mean, there's a lot. The cool outfits. The bad guy, I love that bad guy design. I've never seen this movie before. So when the Phantasm came out, I was like, this is an awesome character. Some memorable scenes, like whenever the Phantasm pushes the tombstone onto the dude and that whole like, oh, the angel of death's coming to get you and stuff. I was like, oh, this is cool. Great voice acting.
She must
Always
work
enjoyed here,
out.
Conroy.
Ghost of
really.
Christmas Future.
Yeah, but after all that, the story itself didn't really reel me in. I wasn't hooked. I was like, the girlfriend, I don't know what's going on with this, and then the reveal, and then there's stuff too, like Joker's jetpack. I'm like, where did he get a jetpack from? Like, what is this? So to me, it felt very realistic and grounded. And then he comes out and he's flying around a jetpack. I'm like, what is going on here? So things like that took me out of it enough that I can't give it a higher rating. But there's definitely a lot to like here. I think people like give it a high, go upwards of 8s. I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand that. Not for me, but I get why people say that.
I'm going to be contrarian and say I give it a 7.9 out of 10.
That's fine.
Not the 8. Can't give it that extra 0.1.
No, like I said, I'm going to be an 8.
He's price of writing John right now.
We're all in the top third, so that's cool. You know.
We all knew what overall score we'd give this movie. Joe, out of 10, what do you got?
Yeah, I gotta say I agree with JVP here. Like the enjoyment factor, I enjoy this a lot. I like the detective aspect. I like the action, I like the music. But it's like just the concept of the Phantasm character just doesn't make sense, and that's like such a huge part of it. And then like the whole just Batman considering not becoming Batman, it's not that takes it down a lot of points right there.
Well,
so that's why I said 6.5.
Look at Christian Bale's Batman. Like before he was trained by Ra's al Ghul, 0% chance he becomes Batman. 0% chance that he would even make the choice to become that.
And then he quits. He quit after he became Batman.
And no one ever complained about. I like the story of those movies. I know I don't have a problem with it, but it's basically the same thing. Would you criticize it in those movies?
Yeah.
Lion sack. No.
No, I would. I mean, a lot of people I don't know. I think a lot of those movies are. Look, I'm up on hot takes right now, right? So
he's got the hood on. He's feeling powerful.
I'm not. I'm feeling like.
I think he wants to give. I think he wants to get his ass beaten by a clown. That's what I'm getting from this.
Every time I talk, I see less.
Dude, it's like a hockey mask.
That's his superpower.
And so AC, we all agree this floats, obviously, correct?
Yeah.
Play the
Yeah.
thing.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
If I
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't know if my memory's playing tricks on me, but I also remember seeing Sub-Zero in the movie theaters. The other Batman movie with Mr. Freeze.
Oh.
Was it? I thought that was a TV only movie.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know if my memory's playing tricks on me, but the thing that I always did remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I was told that was the same script that the Batman and Robin movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze,
Oh,
and they made that animated movie just to be like, we had to do something good with, because the script was excellent.
what?
That's like
You
my
were-
second favorite Batman movie.
You were older at the time. What happened between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin? I like Batman Forever for what it is.
Well, I'll tell you, I have no problem. Like, once I decide I don't like something, I just cut it out. I saw the original 1989 movie in the movie theater. I saw it out in the Hamptons with my friend Phil, and I was so excited. I remember arguing with people. They're like, it's Tim Burton. Jack Nicholson's going to be the Joker, and Michael Keaton's. This is going to be the funniest movie ever. And I was like, no, it's not. This Batman's scary. This is going to be dark. This is going to be creepy. And I was defending. And then
You want to get nuts?
I was
Let's get
so
nuts.
I was so disappointed by the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton, and then the Penguin one came out. I was like, this sucks. And then I didn't see a Batman live action movie until the Nolan ones.
So you missed Batman and Robin, and you missed
Catnips.
Yeah,
Batman.
I'm done with this movie. These movies, I thought they fundamentally got Batman wrong. Batman, the scene, I just turned to my friend Phil and was like, I'm done. When Batmobile drives into the chemical plant and drops a bomb, that's Batman, and blows up the whole freaking building. And then in the second movie with the Penguin, he takes out machine guns. Bah, 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 bah. That's not Batman.
Jim Carrey was a really good Riddler. I'll say that.
So I was just like, this is a Batman. And then he puts on armor, and bullets are hitting him in the chest. That was my big problem with the Pattinson movies. I know it makes sense you'd wear armor and stuff like that, but Batman's supposed to be sneaking and stealthing. If Batman's getting shot in the chest, then that's not Batman. Batman is behind you, he's watching you. Batman's going after 6 guys. That's 12 hours of him stealthy taking out one guy.
Mhm.
And then that guy's like, what happened? Now there's 5 guys and they're all scared. And all of a sudden they turn around, there's 4 guys. You know what I mean? If Batman's standing in front of him taking shots, we're watching an Iron Man movie.
That'd probably be a good way
also-
to fix like modern Batman is they keep on piling up armor, especially that Pattinson movie. Like they're just firing a machine gun, for a whole minute.
Blank
This was-
range, yeah.
Patterson was being a detective through most of that movie. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right.
No.
And then all of a sudden he's in the hallway and they're shooting machine guns at him. And I'm like, okay, they just lost.
Really strong opener on that.
Joe,
you
bring
guys-
up JVP Music's last comment, if you would. Real quick. What's John's pick for the best done superhero movie of all time?
The Incredibles.
I guess live action or...
Incredibles,
Yeah, that ready to go. Yep.
yeah.
The Incredibles is the
That
best.
is an amazing movie.
The best
It is a
Fantastic
really good
Four
movie.
It's the best superhero movie. And then they followed up with this so disappointing sequel.
Yeah,
Mm.
it was. Really
I didn't hate the
Wank,
sequel.
man.
Two
I didn't
questions.
hate it. I was just disappointed, but
Yeah, I think everybody was.
Have you
But
guys?
two
I
questions.
think the story was a little lackluster, but everything else I think was really good.
they should have had the guy as the villain, and then the one scene, Plankman was awesome. The one scene that just gets me is that girl with the void with the red hair, with the green hair. Her
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Incredible have a scene together. That should have been Violet. That was mom and daughter, but I firmly believe they were like, no, we can't have families. We
It
can't.
needs
the
to be
girl
the
power
it needs to be the sexual, like weird sexual, like demisexual, whatever green hair.
They had to have a girl power moment rather than a
Yeah.
family moment. But it would have been a girl power moment if it was mom and her daughter.
Yeah.
Brian, never say that again. Whatever you just said, never say it again.
Boot it that.
So I have 2 questions. Hey, could any of you tell that I made this little bat symbol on the shirt?
No.
I markered
you
this
made
in today.
It's so dark I could barely see the symbol.
Yeah.
No,
Ah,
that's
man,
that's
all
a
that
pretty
work.
I
solid
can see it now that you made me think of it. Yeah.
It is off
that's a pretty
center.
solid cosplay. I'm not gonna lie. I was
that-
giving you shit, but that's my job. So
Yeah. The other thing I was going to ask that I am blanking on.
one of our subjects or something else.
No, it was something else. It was something to do with the. Oh, John, have you seen Justice League Unlimited, the show?
No.
I
really
highly
like
recommend that. You would really enjoy it.
Is that a cartoon?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of takes the character from the Batman the animated series and brings him forward into the overall DC kind of universe.
I tell you, I after Man of Steel, I was done with all DC movies, and they fundamentally got Superman wrong, and I'm like, if you get Superman wrong, I can't watch anything DC.
I'm telling you, you would love this show. I like, without a doubt, in my mind, you would enjoy it. It's got all the DC characters right, and it even has like a lot of the small characters. Like, what's his name? The Question.
Oh, I love the
like he has a
The
couple
Question.
episodes.
It has
that are
Birds
some
of
the
Prey.
best episodes. It has Suicide
bunch of the
Squad in
Green
for like an
Lanterns.
episode or two, and it's like small time episode. And
wait a minute. This is the cartoon series, right?
Yeah.
What was it? Batman Unlimited?
No, it's
Justice League Unlimited.
Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. It's the same show, just continuing. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. Okay. It was with Batman Beyond, and then
No.
No. Batman Beyond is in the future. It's connected that way. Yeah, they confirmed that.
No, that's right. It's regular Batman.
Yeah, this was Paul Dini. Okay, I thought it was a made-for-TV movie. Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I did.
All right,
Okay, so you have seen
They
it.
had one of my favorite scenes when the Question is talking to Lex Luthor, and as he's talking to Lex Luthor, he's taking his tie off, and you're like, "What's going on?" And then you realize the Question is going to strangle Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He's going, "Yeah, I'll take care of this. Superman's a goody goody. He can't get his hand." And then and they have to stop the Question from literally murdering. That was brilliant. That was
that whole show.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about like an animated HBO movie.
No,
Yeah,
that show is so good.
I bought the DVDs of them. Yeah, that's great.
Like, what is it? The Lex Luthor gets put in the Flash's body, and he's like, "Now I can figure out who he is." And
Takes
he
off
looks
mask.
in the mirror.
I
He's
have
like,
no idea who.
I have no idea.
It's like he's not important enough to know. And but like on our list for this week of movies we all picked, I picked All-Star Superman. I really wanted that movie to win.
I've never seen.
I think that's maybe my favorite Superman storyline of all time.
The comics were great.
I like the comics, but I think the movie cut out some of the weirder parts of the story that didn't need to be there. That's a slightly controversial opinion. Like, I don't think we needed to see Superman go to Bizarro Planet or see Jimmy Olsen get on kryptonite acid and go weird. But that maybe that's just me.
But that's a big part of Superman's history, Like that.
It is. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I hated because when John Byrne rebooted Superman, that was like the first time I collected Superman. I had Superman comics, but I never collected it because I'm a John Byrne freak. And I remember the old timers in the comic book store were all pissed off. They're like, "This removes all the charm of Superman, like the Bottle City." And I was just like, "You freaking idiots! This is the coolest. This is John Byrne, dude. This is the way it should." And now, as I'm in my 50s, I'm like, I see their point. Like the little weird charms of Superman. Jimmy Olsen, picking up a bottle of whatever juice and turns into a radioactive lizard giraffe. Like, I don't know. Now I kind of miss that wholesome charm of it,
Oh yeah, like I collected all the like the Bronze Age, the old like all the original Action comics. I had collectors like book editions of them my grandmother gave me. And like they're simplistic, but there's something so wholesome and so uplifting about those I love those old comics.
We'll come back to this later when I'm allowed to talk about my comics, pitching my comics.
Well, you know what? Let's cut into that right now.
I was enjoying this. I wasn't trying to rush.
Yeah.
I'm at the age where I have to say things out loud so I remember them.
Did you guys? Did anybody else play the Batman games, or just me? Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham
I
Knight?
play. Yeah, Arkham Asylum is good. Arkham City was a
Dude,
mistake, and I think
No,
Arkham
Arkham
Knight was
City
worse.
is the best Batman game they've ever made. You do the detective work. Whenever you fight Mr. Freeze, you have to be smart enough to use the room and the gadgets to take him down.
I got
Whenever you're fighting in
bored
combat,
playing
if you're
that
getting
game.
shot at, you got to get out of there. We're like what John was saying. You got to hide in the shadows in order to take the bad guys down, and you have to plan out which guy to take down in what order using your gadgets and batarangs and making out cameras.
I
That
played it
game
for
made
10
me
hours.
feel
I was
like
bored.
Batman. I played it like 3
I don't
times, and
play
I wasn't
video
bored at
games.
all. It's
I'm that old.
awesome.
Maybe it's
the
a
story's
skill
good
issue,
too.
kinda.
With the Joker and the the story. Of course, I got something in my throat.
Yeah.
The Joker with the he's got like a virus and he's trying to inject Batman with it. Great game.
I think
That's
you got
all
a
I know
virus.
that
story.
game for, because the controversial Joker becoming a Hulk at the end.
I don't remember that part.
Is that game? Or is that
No, that's Arkham Asylum. He takes
Yeah,
the
that
he takes
one's-
Venom, the
Venom's
juice that our
Oh, dude.
Mexican wrestler Bane
Bane.
takes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Arkham City's so good. So good.
Hmm.
Play it again. It's so good. And the combat's fun and fast in it. But you got to be careful, you know.
I guess that being said, like I like Batman, but I'm a very middling Batman fan. There are a lot of characters I enjoy a lot more on both, even of the same archetype that I enjoy a lot more. But that's just a me thing. But
I love Batman, but I like Batman when he's a street level vigilante that uses I like when he's the world's greatest detective, not the world's greatest hand to hand fighter. You know,
anytime that he beats up Superman in a comic, my eyes almost roll out of my head. I
Except
always think
exactly what would happen. So yeah,
I
it
like
would never happen,
there's
Joe.
an issue of Batman. I forget what number it is. It's a detective comic. And Batman meets a detective called Joe Potato, and Joe Potato is literally an old.
Oh yeah, I read a little bit of that.
40s.
Yeah,
And Joe Potato looks like Harry Bullock kind of thing, and he's just like, I'm not gonna have this vigilante in my neighborhood. And Joe Potato beats the crap out of Batman. You know, to the point where Batman's like crawling back to the you know, and I like that. Batman is just a guy who's smarter than everybody else. He plans, he has patience. Like the Grant Morrison Batman, where he's like pulls out whatever. He might as well be a magician, he might as well be a wizard, and he might as well be a superhero. I want Batman and like Moon Knight to struggle to fight each other. You know?
The problem with that is you're requiring writers to not be lazy and actually have to figure out like how to write a detective story, which can be difficult when
it's hard to do.
Scene happens. All right, fight scene happens. All right, let the fight choreographer figure that out. Like,
well, it's like that. There were a couple Batman storylines where I didn't mind him being this total brute of a fighter at all times. John, do you remember this? John, do you remember that Batman story before? Like, it's like Bane. It's like the Bane storyline, but before that, Batman starts taking a Venom version of the drug. I was
going to bring that up. That was in Shadow of the Batman.
That's a great story. And he becomes super yoked.
Are you juicing up?
Yeah, and then he has to go into the cave and do nothing, basically dry up for 30 days.
If you remember, he had to lift a rock to save somebody, and he wasn't strong enough to lift the rock.
Yep, the little girl died. So
he literally started shooting up with steroids, and they would draw at him almost like the Batman uniform was almost like a belly shirt, like it wasn't long enough over his muscles.
Yeah, he was
it was
too
a good
big.
story. It showed, he stopped using his brain. He started getting aggressive. He started hitting people to the point.
Well, yeah, he used the drugs as a compromise, because it made him so aggressive. He started doing things that were very non-Batman like, and he started just shy of killing criminals. Because this is comic for kids after all. But
that was a good story. Oh, yeah.
No, it's great when it's like the failure that ends up being the lesson, and the failure is like a huge consequence. It's really gripping when stories do that, and it takes kind of balls to kind of write that sometimes in stories.
He also punches a shark in that story, but that's neither here nor
there. Sounds pretty fun.
Well, you didn't have the bat shark repellent.
Yeah,
that's true. the bat card. I never leave the bat cave without it.
Is that really in the movie?
Yes,
that is a real
100% in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought that was just a commercial.
Yeah, with Poison Ivy.
Also, this is how George Clooney says I'm Batman. He's like, "Hi, I'm Batman."
Yeah,
that's his.
No, literally, you get Poison. What is it? Poison Ivy, and she's dancing on
Uma
a bunch.
Thurman.
Yeah, she's dancing on a bunch of guys in these giant ape costumes.
It's softcore
It's such
porn,
a
and it's
fever
weird.
dream. Yeah.
Based.
Thank you, AC. Thank you.
I like I said, I'm like I decided after the Penguin Batman that I was done. Like with Star Wars, I watched the rise, whatever the new of the sequels.
Was
And
it
Force
was it
Awakens.
the Force Awakens or the Last Jedi that took you out?
Which was the first of the
Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Force.
Force
I saw the
Awakens.
First Awakens in the movie, and I'm like, I'm done. So
Yeah.
I watched the Mandalorian. You know, there's 3
Yeah, we
Star Wars
recently-
because we all forget too that we hated the prequels.
Yeah.
We
Oh, I
hated-
never did. I thought
Well,
they were.
I
I thought they
didn't
were
like
great.
them.
Oh, well, I
That's
saw
because
them
of the
in
age. It's an age
But
thing.
remember, they made a documentary, The People versus George Lucas. George Lucas got pissed off and he sold them because he was just like, doesn't matter, you know. We hated the prequels until the sequels.
Thank you, Herman.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's like in retro. Well, the thing with the prequels though
Doctor
is
Who. You know, I'm like that. I'm like, boom, I'm done, and I don't.
Yeah.
You know,
the
it's
thing.
like,
The thing with the prequels is it's an amazing story with the worst execution ever.
Yeah.
Like where you can't say that for any of the new Star Wars. Like there is nothing there. Like if you took the idea and the concepts of the stories of the prequels and just had a good writer do it, it would
it's
be
a good. It's a good
amazing.
detective story. It's a yeah. and the political intrigue and you just I agree with you. It's just poorly
Yeah.
executed.
If they fixed
It's like
I don't even
really.
I don't even mind like if they fixed up the dialogue a little bit and made it a bit more natural. Like I almost can't even blame the actors and actresses because a lot of that dialogue that wasn't good in the prequels was just impossible to act.
The dialogue was terrible in the original movies too. It just took the charisma of Harrison Ford. Watch any line that Harrison Ford delivers, and write it down and say it yourself. It's just a testament to how good that guy is.
Even like a couple of times, like Luke Hamill and even Alec Guinness at one point were like, "Hey, let's change this up a little bit. This is cringy." Yeah.
I want to hear Chewbacca's original lines. Before they no, that was all edited in.
That says stuff. You can see it on YouTube. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, you see Chewbacca saying stuff.
Yeah, Jabba
Hey,
the Hutt
Luke,
was an
we need to
Irishman.
get going.
Was he really?
Yeah, you can find that one too. And like basically, the way it's edited now, like when they put Jabba the Hutt in after the movie's released in theaters, like you see Harrison Ford walk on his tail, and like what really he's doing, he's walking over a pipe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't want to get into the.
But yeah, it's just like an Irishman. He's like
yeah.
Han Solo, you know. Can't do an Irish accent, but
The Moose Jaw guy. Thanks, man. I appreciate you being here, brother.
yeah. Well, we went all over the place with our conversations. I think we should reel it back in. John, you got a project going on.
What did you say?
I said you got a project going on.
Oh, I thought you said you're tragically going off. I was like, what? Yes,
John, you're tragically going off.
Yes, I
Go.
have a comic called Heroic Tales, and Heroic Tales is on Indie. This is the Fund My Comic. I did pretty good on Fund My Comic. I'm also on Indiegogo.
I gotta
We'll scroll down. I'll just show you this. This is about I'm trying to switch gears now. Now I got to become a salesman. But the Heroic Tales is my comic. It's based on my role-playing games. Me and my buddies have been playing Villains Vigilantes. It's a Dungeons & Dragons with superheroes. We've been playing it since the 80s. So I got like 40 years of stories and characters, stuff like that. And I don't know about you, but if you ever play Dungeons & Dragons, sooner or later somebody says, we should make a comic book about this. We should make a novel about this, you know?
Oh, that's never happened. Surely.
You're right.
Surely.
So I started doing a YouTube channel during COVID because I wanted, everybody was locked down. So I was like, I want to talk about comic books. My friends were like really, really freaky and wouldn't even go outside the house. So I started a YouTube channel to talk comic books about people. And then I started seeing other people making comics. I was like, this could be done. So I started, reaching out there, hired an artist, hired a colorist and everything. And just started making a comic book with no business sense and no understanding of what was needed to do it. And now I'm at the point where I'm hiring a guy to do pre-press and talking to the print. You know what I mean? Like I was just learning as I went. So if I could do it, anybody can do it, guys, So and it was real fun to write scripts. I sent scripts to other comic book people, and they were like, "This is the worst script I've ever read." So I was like, "Oh, you know what I mean?" Like, and I'm so glad, because can you imagine if I wrote that script without any feedback? That, you know, I basically made world building the comic. I streamlined it, wrote it a couple of times. I you know, so now I'm focused on a character. So the comic book was called Heroic Tales, and it was about my superhero world. And now I focused it about the Patriarch. So the Patriarch is my love letter to Superman. You know, I love Superman. I love Superman.
It's a hard character to do right, honestly.
Right. I love Superman, and like Superman is supposed to be this angelic presence that inspires hope and awe. So I wanted to make a Superman homage, but I didn't want to copy Superman. So I made a character called the Patriarch. And I was just like, what is missing from comic books right now? Like, they got rid of Peter Parker's marriage. You know, Reed Richards used to be a good dad and everything, and now they
made Superman a cuck, pretty much.
So I'm like, I'm going to do everything that the Patriarch. So he's going to be a good father. He's going to be a loving husband. He's going to be a beloved superhero. So he's a good guy, and he's a father figure. He's the ultimate father figure. And just like a good dad, when you're acting up, your dad doesn't come in with a stick and start beating you. Your dad tries to de-escalate the situation, let you know why you're. So if you notice, he doesn't.
You and I grew up very different. No, I'm kidding.
The Patriarch will come down and beat up your local feminist.
My father, you know, was no stranger to a beating. Like, my father's famous quote is, "A little spanking never hurt nobody." But you know what I mean. But he will lay down a smackdown. So he's a good dad, you know. And this story is called Father's Day, and he's trying to get home because it's Father's Day. But when you're a superhero and all these things happen, you know, bad guys attack, other things happen. I don't want to spoil it. And he just wants to get home and spend time with his 7 kids. And scroll down. I want to show some of these cover.
I got the Indiegogo as well, if you want to.
Yeah, we'll do, please, if you don't mind. But this is the Renzo Rodriguez cover. You know, obviously and I believe that the covers should reflect what's in the comic. So this is a scene that's going to happen in the comic. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's annoying when it doesn't. Yeah.
And then the next cover is Pat Broderick. This is only on Fund My Comic. You know, Pat Broderick's one of my favorite comic book artists, because I'm trying to recapture like a Bronze Age Marvel feel. So I wanted to hire a Bronze Age Marvel artists to do the covers. So, you know, look at this. I can't believe I got Pat Broderick to do the number 1 to my first comic. And then scroll down, I got Michael T. Gilbert.
That's
this is the back cover. You know, this is his farm. This is his life. You know, those are his children. His wife is there in the pink hat. You know what I mean? This, you know, he's got a brand new baby. He's got 7 kids. You know, they're super villains. So the family kind of lives off the grid. So homeschool, they homestead. You know what I mean? Like, which is going to cause problems later on, because do you really want to live with your parents when you're 20, 21? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But his dad want him to go into the world because he doesn't have a secret identity. You'll see in his origin, his powers manifested in public. So
he doesn't have glasses.
I'm sorry?
I said he doesn't have glasses.
Yeah, he doesn't have the hideaway. This is Michael T. Gilbert. He's the creator of Mr. Monster. So he wanted to do. We were talking about like a Silver Age DC whimsical.
Yeah.
So this doesn't happen in the comic, as much as I want the covers to represent. But I think so. It's a whimsical. He's like, oh, there's robot ants. How about a picnic? And
this reminds me of the old, like the Bronze and Silver Age weird Superman stories. Like,
absolutely,
what will he do when he encounters the whale with Lois Lane's face?
Right,
real comic. I used to own it. It was like old collector's thing from New York. It was great, but yeah.
So this is him and his kid. They're out camping, and his wife's getting abducted by a robot ant. I love this cover. So this is also available on Fund My Comic now. And if you wouldn't mind going to the Indiegogo, so this is going to be my home. This is always going to be available. You know what I mean?
All right, I'm gonna play. Great tag.
Agreed.
How? One family. From a super team.
Yeah,
Great.
Kyle Prometheus made that trailer for me. You know, he just sent it to me. I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. So
Kyle
Great
Prometheus,
music.
he's the dude.
Music was good.
Kyle's the man. Yeah.
so if you scroll down, I have another variant cover only on Indiegogo right now. You know, so
Oh.
that right there. That's Mike Gustovich. I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Gustovich, but he did the Justice Machine. He also did the Justice League for a while. And he did so many other things. He did a lot of inking for other people, but as far as drawing, he did the Justice Machine and some Justice League for a while.
Oh yeah, no, like you can tell by the layout and the complicated angle. Like this isn't a first time like superhero
No.
drawing individual. Obviously, like I've seen some great illustrators come on and like do Superman or do like superhero stuff, but to get the specific like superhero flavor, it takes a certain level of experience and like. You know, like this, like most of this would be like most of the time this would not be angled down, looking down dynamically at a city. It would be like a flat kind of thing, and it wouldn't work as well.
Yeah, I love this. I love this cover. It's, you know, and so this is only available on Indiegogo right now. You know, so I'm trying to push this because I only got 6 backers on Indiegogo. You know, I did really good on Fund My Comic, and I did okay on Kickstarter, and now. You know, I'm struggling on Indiegogo. So
sorry, I just backed you on Fund My Comic.
Oh, that's
It's like, man, if only there was at least one I'm like, my bad.
So I mean, I'm printing these covers, and I'm gonna do like bundle deals with issue number 2. You know, because I think a lot of people aren't even aware that this cover came out. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So
yeah, and it's a great variant cover too. Sometimes variant covers are like a completely different art style, and it's sometimes cool, but it's sometimes kind of gimmicky sometimes.
Yeah, and for issue number 2, I'm gonna have an A cover and a B cover, and that's it. You know, I did 4 because I wanted to work with some of my favorite, you know, Marvel legends. You know, but I should have put all 4 on the Fund My Comic at the beginning, and then everybody who got 2 covers would have gotten 4 covers. But what do I know? Live and learn. So the comic is pretty much done. Bill just finished lettering it today, so he's doing the pre-press stuff for it, and I think he'll be done with that by tomorrow, and then we could just start printing. So broken neck and everything, I'm still on schedule. I'm not going to say ahead of schedule. I had a couple of hiccups, but I'm on schedule. I said I should be fulfilling rather in October, so I'm hoping I can still do that. You know, I've never had a comic printed before. I'd like to think I could start fulfilling before October 31st. You know, so you know.
Yeah.
Guy
that stuff can get pretty complicated just based on different interactions and conversations I've had with different creators. But Fund My Comic does seem to make things pretty easy as far as what I've seen.
Yeah. Fund My Comic, I've had.
That's my wife.
It was funny because I was thinking of changing.
Seabats, that's so funny and so wrong. Thank you so much.
I was thinking of changing Longbox Comics to Breakneck Comics. You know.
I approve because it's incredibly metal. That sounds so metal. I love it.
Yeah. So maybe.
Breaknecks.
So we're already working on issue 2, and we had a couple of things of issue 3 already being prepared. You know, the scripts are written. Of course, I'll be rewriting a few things, but the scripts are mostly written up to issue 4. Renzo is doing character design for issue 3, and he's currently drawing issue 2. So I'm way ahead. And if I may, I'm also have a side project that with Oscar, the colorist for for there's 2 stories. Oh yeah, let me tell you about this. There's 2 complete stories in here. So there's the patriarch story. It's 23 stories, 23 pages complete. $10, and I think it's a bargain for crowdfunding. And then there's a 9-page backup story called Unheroic Tales, and it's the origin of a villain who will be playing a big part in future issues.
Nice.
So you're getting
that's fun. Yeah.
So 23 plus 9, so you get 31 pages of story. Then there's 3 pages of ads. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Classic Bronze Age ads, and then a letters page.
Oh yeah.
That's 30. So what is that? 35 pages for $10. You know what I mean? And it's all complete. So I think it's a big ask to ask people to pay $20 for a comic book and then wait.
Especially if it's someone you've never gotten a story from before.
Correct. Yeah, I'm a first timer. You guys have given me a lot of trust. So I wanted to be able to say like, well, I tried, I didn't like it. You got a complete story, but I do like it. So I'm already working on the next issue. But, I think you're going to wait a year for part 2. And then the story's done. You paid $180 for a story. That's really expensive entertainment. So I'm trying to make it as inexpensive as possible and as accessible as possible. So, you could read this with your kids. There's something in the villain story that I'm a little nervous people might get upset with, but we'll see. But he's a villain. Keep that in mind. Villains are bad people.
Villains do bad things.
Villains
Shocker.
do bad things. Yeah. So this we were talking about Gotham City. So this is set in Science City, and Science City is the city itself. I want to make like a big part of the comic. You don't really see it too much in issue number 1 because there's not how much. I didn't want to do world building the comic. I wanted to introduce the patriarch. So
science.
Yeah. So Science City is it's a city designed by Ian Strange, who's an architect who's also a wizard. So he's an architect magician, and he designed this. And he talked to this industrialist Philip Manning, and Philip Manning's like, yeah, that's great. So they set it in Arizona. They're using all these solar panels, like all the buildings have solar panels. It's the city of the future, but they didn't stick to the architect's demand. So the magic spell, like the streets forms magic signals and everything like that. So he used different materials, cheaper materials. So now instead of this magic spell created by creating the city of making it a utopia, it's flawed. And now people dress up like penguins and clowns and rob banks.
Oh, hey, it's Science City. You have to have a bunch of futuristic army of otters. See South Park.
Oh. But like I was thinking, why does Gotham City have people dressing up like clowns and penguins and what have you, but not Baltimore, not
right?
I mean, bad guys dressing up as clowns is kind of topical. It's kind of like they're on theme, at least.
Well,
yeah.
Isn't it kind of a? Well, isn't it kind of supposed to be a side effect of Batman's vigilantism?
Well, that's so.
I
this,
always understood it as such.
Yeah, but they also said that there was some sort of bat spirit or whatever in Gotham, with the Grant Morrison story. But
I hated that.
I'm just saying, like, Green Arrow was in Seattle and they didn't have. But I'm just saying there's some. So I'm trying to address why this. So this city itself is the problem. I'll be exploring that in the future issues. So.
So is there going to be like a nuclear power plant in Russia type of issues?
Well, they don't have it. That was just
Chernobyl.
This whole city is supposed to be like environmentally friendly, so it's solar powered. There's no nukes. If they had a nuclear power plant, there probably wouldn't be any supervillains because then they wouldn't.
Yeah.
No,
because it's like Chernobyl was built like with all cheap stuff.
Oh
that's
yeah.
The whole reason why it blew up.
If you scroll down a little bit, you see the interior art. Okay, stop right there. Okay, so this guy's boss Moxie. He was a construction worker, and he just wakes up and becomes a 30s gangster. Why? Because the city itself is causing insanity.
He looks like he really knows his whiskey. That's what I'll say.
Oh yeah, well, he's based on my real foreman. I'm a construction worker. So,
oh yeah, me too. That's great.
So if you look above his head outside the window, you see a statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a little spoiler. You'll see this sooner or later. Maybe in issue 2 if I hit the stretch goal. That's supposed to be a spire. That's the exact center of Science City. It was supposed to be this big spire that was supposed to focus all of this Lee line energy and solar energy that Ian Strange, the architect, is. But instead, that's a statue of the industrialist Philip Manning himself, portrayed as the Colossus of Rhodes. So all this magic energy is being the wrong frequencies, and people are going nuts and crazy.
I love it.
Oh, some 5G towers, huh?
Yeah, there you go. I love.
He has some hot talent helping him as well.
Are the 5G towers shaped like Baphomet? That would be like bonus points.
Yes, the classic pose. Yes.
Oh, sick. Look at
And
that.
Art Deco. So of course, there's dirigibles and stuff.
I'm sorry, I got to give it to the image with Patriarch holding the baby, dude.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty based, yeah.
I used it on the thumbnail. I used it on the video for the music. Like that's just the image. I think that's the scene.
Yeah, that I was right. I take a commuter train to work, so I was on the train, and I'm like, this is my first comic, and like I was looking at the prices to print, and it's a lot cheaper if you put an ad for the printer on the back cover, and I'm like, but no offense to the printer, I don't want. This is my first comic. I want the back cover to be something that I'm going to look at for the rest of my.
Oh, on the back, yeah, I'd be hesitant to do.
So I was like,
too.
what? Well, the name of the comic is Father's Day, and he's trying to get home to spend Father's Day with his family, but he's a superhero and he's a good guy, and people are in danger. So the last page is the back cover is like the last page of the story. That's what he's trying to get home for. So I just thought of it like I was picturing it in my mind, and I called Renzo while I was on the train, and he dropped everything and started drawing it, and then I asked Daniel to color it right away, and it looks so good. I was like, I got to start showing this because it came out better than I imagined. And
the colors are they look like they're old school inspired, but they're obviously done like with modern techniques.
Yeah, I told Daniel I wanted it to be like, look like it came out in the Bronze Age, but at the same time,
don't skip out on modern techniques when they work.
Like this to me is a good mix of modern coloring and old coloring.
I like his face right there, where it's like mirrored to what he's hearing or seeing or whatever.
Right. I mean, it's funny because I said that he one of like the Patriarch. I was joking around like one of his powers is the male gaze. So he literally could release. So like he could release his senses. Like all 5 of his senses. It's almost like an astral form, but not really. So when he's doing that, he doesn't have his senses are somewhere else. So you could sneak up because he's stone deaf, he's blind, he can't even feel. So he could be lit on fire and he wouldn't notice until he reclaims his senses. You know what I mean? So he does that when he's in the air or when he's someplace safe. So what he's doing is
activating the male gaze.
Right. So he's sending his senses out thought, and he sees this car's going off the cliff. And when I was describing it, Renzo just goes, "Oh, like Spider-Man." Like he knew exactly what I was talking about. Yeah.
So is his villain going to be the matriarch? Right. That's the go-to.
Well, no, that's it. Well, it's Boss Moxie, and then I already spoiled the name. But the bad guy is his opposite.
Oh, all right. Well, eventually,
so kind of a Lex Luthor type, not as physically capable, but very.
Well, he's a very strong. He's like a strong masculine figure. So I'm assuming a lot of his enemies would either be other strong masculine figures or the very idea of like the very antithesis of masculinity. So like very weak,
it's
very
funny
weak males.
His origin is going to be his like Black Mirror image, and I'll leave it at that. So he's positive masculinity. So his origin, another person gets powers at the same time. He's going to be toxic masculinity, and in this comic, I showed it off already, so I don't. This is the main bad guy. So this is the trading card. So
can you make it screen big?
So he's short.
Oh yeah, he's on the one cover. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's short, ugly.
Why'd you give him my feet?
He
So
looks
he's-
happy though. He's having a good time.
He's a basically an incel. You know what I mean? So he's
Yeah. And don't forget about like just like other ways that men become weak. You know what I mean? Like you could have like a. I
He
don't know,
orders pumpkin spice lattes, you know, the regular stuff.
I was thinking like trafficker. You know what I mean? Like they just
Whoa, that's a whole different thing. It's
It's
not like
very weak.
I have trouble talking to women
Very
and I
weak.
don't have a father figure. Trafficking.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a few other.
Yeah.
You need a villain though to make
The corrupt-
everything ugly to defeat the male gaze.
well, you'll see that. Like I
Yeah,
said,
the corrupt politician too.
there's if you read like Captain Marvel, Shazam, Billy Batson, like he was a good.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
He was a good-looking, strong male guy. So like Butia would throw herself at him, and they didn't know he was really a 12-year-old boy. So he'd be like, get all shy and leave. Or the Spirit, he didn't want to get tied down to Ellen, so he would like leave. So I like that trope. Even Plastic Man would be like, I gotta go. So like it's like an old school trope.
No, he was such a perv. He would have stayed.
But
Dude, I love
it's just a
Shazam.
trope that these male heroes, like all the women are throwing themselves at him and they leave, but he leaves because he's in love with his wife. You know what I mean? So like you'll see there's a couple of women that are like almost like stalkers, you know, and he's just like, but he doesn't want to tell them I have a family because, well, you'll see.
That makes your family a target. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like
Oh
if you
yeah.
scroll up to that back issue. To
Is
that
this
back
the
cover.
plot right there.
You know,
No, the back cover. Yeah, right.
right there. Scroll up so you can see. Scroll up a little bit more. No, you're scrolling down. Yeah, whatever. So you can see his wife over there. You see she's got scars.
Yeah.
So, you know that's a big plot thing. You know.
Wait, is she in the purple with the two?
Yeah.
The big plot going on there. Is that her?
Huge tracts of land.
Oh, is that Naruto on the kid's shirt?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. look
I
at
knew it.
that. Leave it.
Sick.
Yeah.
You know, like
Sick,
I
dude.
want to make it family based. Like issue 4, so far the working, like I got it all planned. So issue 2, it's you know it's a superhero story that it's setting up plot seeds, and I'm slowly building the tension. Like you can't have Thanos attack issue number 1 because where do you go from there? So
Right.
it's starting out, you know,
Power scaling.
small scale, and it'll build to issue 10 rather, where the super team is forming.
Well, John, I got to compliment you on that aspect real quick before you move on, and that is,
Oh, sure.
what a lot of like I love a lot of indie comics, but a very common problem I've seen in a lot of indie comics is issue 1. We have to introduce every single thing that the story could ever be in issue 1. And
Right.
what they're trying to show this expansive experience that's eventually coming. And what they end up doing is making a very scatterbrained entrance
Yeah.
that's
They're trying
not
to
focused. Like, honestly, just having one simple storyline following 1 or 2 characters, that's honestly the
Well,
way to go for most people.
To be honest, that's what I was doing. I was making I was trying to impress everybody with my world that I created.
Yep.
That my story made no sense, and I sent it to, I don't know if you know Brian Bow and Fabrizio Aiello, they, you know, of Wolf and Batsy and Horace H. Hoover. They read my script and they were like, this is nothing. This is world building the comic. They're like, you know, and it was
World building, it can be interesting, but only if you care about the story.
Right, that's what they said. I don't care about any of these characters. They said pick one of the characters, and so I was like, the patriarch. I want the patriarch to be the centerpiece. So they said, don't write a world building story that features the patriarch. Write a patriarch story and put. So I was like, all right, but then I was just like, but I don't know if I'll make it to issue number 2, and I need people to see how cool my world is. But so I understand that's a real first timer newbie thing.
It is.
So
It
I
is.
trust myself that I'm going to make it to issue number 2. I trust myself that I hope I can make it to issue number 6, and then all of the stuff that I want. And here's the funny thing is, somebody sent me a script, and they were doing the exact same thing that I was doing, and I was giving them the same advice. And then I realized, how can I give this advice and I'm not even listening to the same advice? And I started rewriting my script. And then I was going to do a really bad mistake. Is issue number 2 wasn't going to have the patriarch in it at all.
Yep, that would have been a mistake.
And then I realized, because that's why the comic is called Heroic Tales. It's about my world. And then I realized your boy Zach, he did the Jawbreakers. Everybody loved Jawbreakers, and then he never followed up with Jawbreakers for like 5 years. He followed up with like $4.99, which was fine, but everybody was like, "We want Jawbreakers." So I said, "You know what?
Like it made a splash, pissed off a bunch of people, and then never was
right.
Was
right. You got to strike." So people have been messaging me saying they like the character of the patriarch. They like that it's positive, and I said, "You know what? I love the design of the costume. I love the concept. This is my flagship character. So every issue of Heroic Tales is going to have a long patriarch story, and then a backup story of various lengths with another character, and then eventually all of those backup they're going to form a team. So in issue number 2, I'm introducing. Well, it's going to have a 22-page patriarch story, and it's going to have a 15-page story introducing Mary Sue. Mary Sue is my another character. She's the perfect girl. She's a girl boss. And the problems with
she's appropriately named. It's kind of funny that that's actually her name.
Yeah. Well, her name is Mary, and SU. She's a third. She's a third.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Her family fled the Taoist. It's because their family's Roman Catholic, so they fled religious persecution from China. The grandparents started a little store in Flushing, and then her parents turned it into Sue Mart, which is like a Walmart type of thing. So she's beautiful, she's smart, she's rich, but she's perfect. But we got to remember that perfect is a subjective word. She's perfect in the eyes of her grandmother. You know what I mean? So what grandma thinks, so she's a good girl. She's a virgin. She's never even kissed a boy. And then she goes to college. She's a good Christian. She's a good girl. She gets teased. You know what I mean? And then she gets powers where she's my response to Scarlet Witch is like she could just wave her hand and do whatever she wants. Well, so can Mary Sue, but there's consequences. Like I'm trying to set up in the first issue. By the last page, you're going to be like, uh-oh. The fact that she could rewrite reality and make things perfect, it's like the butterfly effect. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, she fixed this, but now because of that, something else didn't happen. You know what I mean? And now there's consequence. So she doesn't want to use her powers because to fix this could cause some like the example that I always give is when I passed out in my car, I fainted and I went to the left and my hand went to the left and I went off the highway into a tree. Now, could you like, oh man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go into the tree. So I fix it. So now I go straight and then I hit the guy in front of me and kill somebody else. You know what I mean? Maybe I didn't break my neck, but that guy's dead. So if I make the perfect scenario for me, so that's what she could do. She could. So
is she a hero?
She's a hero. In the first issue, she gets her powers. She doesn't know she has powers. So she reflexively uses her abilities to fix the situation. And
so I mean, like similar type of like Raven. Like she can't use her powers too much, or else her dad, the demon, comes out.
Well, she doesn't want to use her powers because she fixed something in a moment of panic, and now she has to deal with the fact that it may have made everything else worse in ways that she couldn't. So she's going to be my Reed Richards. She's super intelligent.
Great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly, and it's goofing on the concept of a Mary Sue. She's perfect, but perfect doesn't mean everything's good. Perfect. She's a virgin.
She's perfect, but not everything else, and that's the problem.
Well, she's perfect in the eyes of her grandmother. You know what I mean? An old Chinese grandmother. Are you a doctor yet? Are you a doctor yet? That's how she's perfect. And then,
so she never got the flip-flop boomerang treatment like everybody else. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Every proper child should. This is not related to anything we were talking about, by the way. But
issue 3, I'm going to introduce my street level Batman type character.
All right,
and I'm going to do it properly. Like he's going to be, like sneaking up on people and not taking out 400 people all at once. And then issue 4, I'm going to have the patriarch, and I'm not naming this character on purpose because every time I name this character, I find out that another comic book's coming out with the same name. So you'll see his name when the comic's coming out. And in issue 4, I'm going to have the Patriarch and my street level guy meet for the first time, and they're going to fight because that's a superhero trope. They fight, but you're going to be like, oh my god, this stakes to this fight. There's a reason why they're fighting, and
the street level character.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty scary.
Yeah, so the street level character is going to win because this is the Batman in the story. Batman
No, Patriarch will clearly punch him once in the face and kill him. That's what's going to happen. One punch.
Justice League War, the animated movie, that's how every Batman versus Superman fight would go. I'm sorry.
What are you talking about?
Batman is running away and getting his kicked the entire fight.
Yeah,
Batman number 42. He gets punched in the face by Superman.
I deny
One
these.
shot.
I deny these claims. They sound like they were written by feminists.
One shot.
If you scroll down, you'll get clues to what the Patriarch's powers actually are. You don't want to just rip off. You don't want to rip off Superman. Keep scrolling down.
That's true.
So here he is flying, and there. Okay, you see the car. Scroll down a little bit more. You see.
Oh, he
fixed it.
Metal?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't read it, cool. and then scroll up a little bit more. So look, you're doing it right. I'm getting the directions wrong. Keep going. So you see, you keep going.
Oh, he meant. It's very specifically metal.
So you know what I mean. So I'm trying to let you guys know his powers are vastly different than Superman. In fact, Superman would probably crush him in one punch.
Gotcha.
I got no problems admitting, like, people are like, well, who would win, the Patriarch or Superman? Superman is the best. Superman would crush anybody.
Anyone who asks who would win in a Superman versus someone fight fundamentally don't understand what Superman is about.
Superman would I think Spider-Man would probably beat the Patriarch. You know what I mean?
No, because he'd be crying because his redheaded hot girlfriend broke up with him. He wouldn't.
And
they wouldn't
fight him in the countryside. He can't shoot his rope.
But I already
spider
spoiled.
webs on buildings.
I'm sorry.
On the ground.
I have more web. It just takes a minute. Yeah.
I think it's a rookie mistake to overpower your character.
Yeah.
It
becomes a very different.
I forgive Superman because he's like literally the first superhero, but somebody I was shilling my comic, and somebody in the chat said, "Oh, I'm making up a character, and he's the most powerful superhero that he could beat the Superman, he could beat the Hulk, he could beat," and I was like, "Yeah, but that sounds boring. Where's
Yep.
If you're going to do that, do like a One Punch Man kind of story.
Right,
don't make it about the physical confrontation if you're going to have a character that strong, because it's not.
Well, it's One Punch Man is probably it's really good, but the skill it took the guy to write that story is insanely high.
That's
right.
Not everyone has that skill. No.
Very few do.
I'm gonna level with you guys.
Most people like Batman better than Superman these days because
and they're wrong, but it's okay.
I like Superman better, but I understand the appeal of Batman.
I'm gonna level with you guys. I think I may have gone a little bit too much in the we'll just call it the Batman direction with my characters. I keep trying to compare them in that same way with other people's, and I'm just like, no, they're basically just normal. I mean, aside from like the fantasy racist stuff. So
the thing is
opposite problem over here.
People want conflict in this story, right? And so when your character's already more powerful than everyone else, now you got to think of a different conflict. Than
it has to be an emotional or some sort of spiritual conflict. If the character is so physically beyond everything else that he could ever possibly face, aka One Punch Man, Saitama, then his struggle is with depression and his lack of feeling, his apathy, his not getting to the supermarket in time. Real problems.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry. I'll bring up another quick comparison. Another way someone who did a Superman-like character in recent years that did a good job, and that, like, people say what they say about it, but My Hero Academia, All Might, they basically gave him the powers of original, like, Bronze Age Superman. Like, he can't fly, but he can jump. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound. He's faster than a bullet train, and all of that, or more powerful than a locomotive and faster than a
Yeah,
speeding
he's
bullet.
Superman, but he can't fly. Yes.
Well, no, but that is original Superman. He couldn't fly.
No, I know, but what's your point?
Well,
Ooh, I like original Superman. He was basically just bulletproof. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
No, I
yeah,
thought
like
you
they
were not
used
going anywhere with that.
they used like toxic gas to knock him out in some of the original stories. That was
Yeah. Wait, Kahuna, were you not going anywhere with that?
I was, and then you distracted me, and now I can't
Yeah, no,
remember.
'cause you kept on. You weren't getting anywhere.
I barely
Yeah.
got started, and he's.
This
All
is
right.
this is the cover to Heroic Tales #2. It's going to be a flip book. So like I don't know if you're familiar with a flip book, but like so one side's going to it's going to have a cover for the patriarch, then you flip the book over, it's going to have a cover for the secondary characters. So this is Mary Sue. You know, this is going to be, you know, this pretty much tells the whole story on the cover. You know, I'm big on the images being part of the comic. So,
Well, yeah, like with a visual medium, the art is part of the story. So
right. So you're going to see the monsters, you know, those Dr. Octopus arms, you know, her supporting characters, Kirby Crackle, lots of Kirby Crackle in Mary Sue, you know.
is that
And,
a walnut in that man's hand?
No, that's the unobtainium.
Unobtainium. Yeah, always have to have your fantasy, your made up metal. I got my.
Everybody has some sort of made up metal, and it's so common people don't even think about it anymore.
Mine doesn't have a name yet.
It's a great trope. It's a great trope.
You can just freak out Americans, come up with an exotic metal like aluminium. The Americans will have no idea what we're talking about.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Oh, you got another answer.
Why did we start calling it aluminum?
This is my
It's not
street
how it's
level
spelled.
character. You know, you see.
All right.
So I wasn't showing this, but now I'm showing this because he's a hyper violent street level guy with no power, and people are gonna say, "Oh wow, you're ripping off the Horseman." I just want you. Guys,
I'm looking at the silhouettes across the street.
You know, so
Holy shit.
he's inspired by
oh whoa,
based. Yeah, based.
He's inspired by Travis Bickle, the taxi driver. So that's why he has the crest on his head.
Yeah.
If you notice, he's got a gun, and
a lot of Chinese food.
Yeah, well, he's hanging out watching, you know. So he.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a character that Emily absolutely hates. Does he hang up his hat on that knife?
No, he's the exact opposite of the patriarch. Just imagine you're an undercover cop. You're assigned to work with the mob, kind of like Donnie Brasco, and he's so in that he can't just take a day off to go hang out with his family because he has obligations now to be with the mob. And then he'll tip the police off. A guy will get arrested, and then the next day he's at the mob hangout, and they're like, "Yeah, I got arrested yesterday. Yeah, the lawyers got me off. It was a pain in the neck. Yeah." And he's just like, that guy was supposed to go to jail for years. So he's getting more and more frustrated. And then you see there's a payphone across the street. He uses that payphone.
There's a massage parlor. I just read that. Holy shit.
Right on. So he goes to that payphone, and that's the only way he could talk to his wife, you know, that he could trust, you know. So he calls up the wife, and the wife picks up, and she just says to him, "I want a divorce." So he loses his mind. So now he's stuck. He's too deep. He can't leave. If he arrests people, they just get off because of these high-powered lawyers. So he puts on a costume and beats the crap out of everybody. So, you know, he's the exact opposite of the patriarch. He's having an unhappy marriage. You know,
we give Justin a bunch of crap because he hates Rocky. And
that's deserved.
One of the things he specifically mentioned about hating about Rocky was that he's got
just a leg breaker. He's a
with
loser.
his hat on.
No, it's that he has a knife in the wall and he puts his hat on it. Yeah, and I'm like, that's a little odd.
So
John, we love Justin's takes because they're always different and come from a very different angle. Except for his Rocky take because it is objectively wrong start to finish. We've gone over it before. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is you don't. I won't rehash it. Continue. Go on.
Go on.
So he's that character again. I'm not telling you his name because every time I give his name, because originally he was called the Raven, and then Now everybody's got a character, and then I changed it to the Rook, and then Jeff Johns just came out with the comic called the Rook. So,
I was
I
just
relate-
thinking the Rook. I was literally thinking the Rook would be a good hero name.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
taken already.
So now
I relate.
So rather than being like a Batman inspired, he's more taxi driver. So that image that you showed, I'm gonna get it lettered. It's gonna say, someday a real rain will come and wash this come off the streets. And then on the bottom it's gonna say, I am that rain, as he's loading his gun.
Nice. That little revolver too.
Yeah, he's got to have a gun that he doesn't want to use. He'll kill, but if he kills, he knows it's just going to cause too much eyeballs and attention. So,
with that, we can transition.
Sure.
We can talk because we had one of our topics being Let me do that because it just makes it so much easier for editing.
Yeah.
Now, I think we should talk about flashbacks because we've kind of already gone over the other two parts for the most part. But yeah, so using flashbacks in stories, we've seen it. It's becoming more and more common, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. We'll start. John, you're the guest. What do you think about flashbacks and how often do you think they should be used? Yeah.
I'm going to use the flashback in issue 3 when I tell the Patriarch's origin, because something's going to happen. And then he's like, oh no, and he's got to, do something. And then as he's doing it, I'm going to cut back and forth. The Mary Sue story, she's bleeding out. The first panel is her bleeding to death, and her life is passing before her eyes. So it's all in flashback. So yeah, I'm a big fan of flashback. Issue number 1 is simple storytelling, A to B, A to B, A to B, because I just wanted to start out simple. But I'm trying to get more and more complicated as I get more comfortable with writing scripts and things like that. I didn't want to get too crazy on my first one because I'm a rookie.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. Yes, that's what we say to each other. So I'm a big fan of flashbacks, and if done well, they're really, really clever. The problem is
they can't be a crutch.
Yeah.
They can't be a crutch, and it's got to be obvious that it's a flashback. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So I mean, the biggest thing with it is pacing. Anime is probably the worst at using flashback scenes because they will use it right as the fight gets really intense. They're like, all right, flashback.
Something's about to happen. We're about to spend 15 minutes on this.
Yeah. I actually learned this secret move 10 years ago in this, and we're going to show you this flashback, and it's like, yeah, that's lazy.
Well, that's Scott Pilgrim did that, and they kind of were parodying that, making fun of it.
They're parodying it.
Yeah.
I will say I enjoy a bit of a flashback myself. You guys have all, at least my co-hosts here, have at least read my book. There's a lot of reminiscing because, as it turns out, with short stories, you need to kind of be very, very clever with flashbacks, and they're almost necessary
because you have a limited amount of time and space.
Yeah. So you have to kind of catch people up on the important things of this character in this moment in this setting, and sometimes that involves a flashback or,
Well, I guess there's different levels of flashback too, because you can reminisce without even in a visual medium without it being a full on flashback. I guess that's the low end of a flashback. The high end is where the story is built to be built around the flashback. I'd say Arrow, the TV show, was like that.
Yeah.
It was designed to jump back and forth from normal time to the past. And that worked really well for maybe 2 seasons, and then it was garbage. But
same with Lost, right? Lost would jump into the flashback.
I don't want to talk about good shows, though.
Actually, Lost. I thought Lost.
Yeah,
I love Lost
season 5.
until the last season when I realized they weren't pulling it all together.
Right there.
Lost
that mystery
lost
box.
the plot very early.
Mystery box. We keep it a mystery. We just don't think what's the mystery is going to be. We're going to make it shit.
The mystery box. There is no answer. It's just a box that never gets opened. Yeah.
So we got, we just watched Mask of Phantasm, and the Red Hood does it the exact same way, where you got this mystery character, and they're filling in parts of the detail. Basically, it's half and half, going back and forth with the story of kind of discovering the mystery through the flashbacks. as the normal story goes.
I almost feel like the flashbacks should have been done less in the Red Hood story, because I think that gave away who it was way too fast. Like, it made it so obvious who the Red Hood is, in my opinion. They should have had maybe one flashback, and then that should have been it.
I think one flashback would be enough for you to be like, oh, it's him.
You're probably right.
It wasn't a difficult mystery, but it's been a long time since I saw that. But yeah. What else we got? We got Memento, which is
that movie is a pretzel of a timeline. It's not just a flashback.
Yeah. Well, it's also like a lot of stories, like even sitcoms, like a lot of them, they'll do the flashback montage to really, and it's all flashbacks that you have seen before, and it's all to like reinforce the emotion they want you to feel at that time. Yeah, is that does that make it cheap though?
How I Met Your Mother, right?
Oh yeah. Friends does it. Yeah, How I Met Your Mother. Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother is a long flashback. That is all it is, because it's Ted telling his kids what happened in the past, and that's the whole premise of the show. So
I think that's kind of that. I think that's the best way to do it, is either treat it as if you're not having a flashback because it's so drawn out. It's basically just kind of a prequel or an origin story or what have you that just tells a huge chunk of time, or just give us like one. Because in Phantasm, by the time they got to like the fourth or the fifth one, it just felt sort of like, how do we work this in here? And it kept taking me out of it, kind of like we were saying with the anime fights, where they take me out of the moment to show me something else. I know it's to fill in plot points, but it was too much. I feel like one or two, you're okay, but once you get like 3 or 4, I'm like, just make it its own separate thing. And I've also seen some stories too where it's not a flashback, but they hyper compress like 40 years of a character's life into a short span, and I don't really like that either. I'm like, I like
that can be done well, but Justin, with in regards to the Phantasm,
we agree.
Yeah.
Well, we agree on something. I'm so happy.
We did it.
You also have flashbacks too that are used, just flashback in a previous scene to like in a mystery to a detail you may have missed, and hopefully they showed you that detail. It's just like to the.
Sometimes they don't show it, and then they show it only in the flashback. I'm like, this is.
I hate that. That's so cheap.
It's so
rewind it. You're like,
it's cheap. It's cheap.
What was it, the Onion House or Glass Onion or whatever it was?
They did it's a Rian Johnson flick. It's already BS. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
The guy's like, yeah, I want half of the people who see The Last Jedi to hate it. Well, you're an overachiever. Everyone hated that movie. Anyway.
But so like for emotions or flashbacks to be used to like reinforce an emotion, like when they're wrapping up a show and they're like, all right, this is the last time you're going to see this character. We're going to do a flashback of like all the, great things she's done or whatever. And it kind of throws, it sets off an emotion. Seeing those
I only like that when it relates to how a specific character is feeling and it's not just an audience manipulation.
I was just going to say, that reminds me of Demon Slayer, because with every boss battle he has, doesn't it do a quick flashback montage of like the demon, like
it'll show what led to the demon where it's at now.
I'm cool with
showcase the demon's life a little bit. Yeah, I think they do it well in Demon Slayer.
They do.
Well, so they do good at that instance, except when he has to learn his ultimate Sunfire move, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here's a flashback with my father teaching me that dance." It's like, oh, okay.
Joe, shut your whore mouth. That was a great scene.
the poetry with like the demons and stuff. That's cool. I like that though. Yeah.
But I was thinking a very specific scene that didn't do it. Surprisingly, I mean, y'all seen that '70s show?
Yeah, it's underrated. It's underrated.
Yeah, the ending to that with the fade out on the basement, right? Which was very like emotionally strong. I thought that was like a really good way to end it. I wonder if it would have been better if they did a flashback. It was kind of weird, like that they didn't. For a sitcom.
I think I almost prefer the way they did it, because they've done flashbacks on that show multiple times before, with strong emotional moments. But again, in that '70s show, it's always tied to what the character is thinking about. It's not just an audience manipulation.
I
Or it's
thought
like-
that show ended with the countdown for it was 1979.
Yes.
And it was counting down to
Yeah,
1980.
yeah. Well, they're
Okay.
all going upstairs. Like, you know, the dad
to watch
call,
the
or
ball
something
drop.
happens. They're like, "Hey, it's
The Hateful Eight
countdown."
had some. It had short, punchy flashbacks, which is what Tarantino likes to do. Look at Kill Bill and all those movies. It's short, punchy flashbacks for the most part.
So they were doing the countdown, and like Eric takes one look at the basement, or one of the characters, and then they walk up as the countdown goes down, but it fades out with the basement, and that I thought was like one of the best endings to a show, even though the last season sucked. But
No, like that's the problem with all American sitcoms. Tell me if there's one where this isn't the case. Every American sitcom that gets any level of popularity goes on for 1 or 2 seasons too long at least, if not more.
I feel like modern ones that's the case, but like I Love Lucy, every season's still solid.
That's not new. Friends isn't new. It was the same way. Even How
Oh,
I
you
Met Your
said new,
Mother
yeah. I'm saying
isn't
modern
new
ones.
either.
Yeah.
The Dungeons and Dragons animated TV show from the 80s canceled way before its time. I
oh
wanna
yeah,
see
there's
what
plenty of things that were
happens
canceled
with
before its
Dungeon
time.
Master.
I think that's almost a better fate than going on too long to become something no longer recognizable.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right?
That's what happens in every TV show in America.
I used to
that
be
goes on
such
too
a
long.
I used to be such a How I Met Your Mother ending defender, and then like I rewatched it like a couple years ago again, and I was just like, that did suck. What the hell?
I've never.
Well, it's
seen a
like you
single
like
episode
you
of that
you
show.
invest all this time into a show that's that long. You're like, it's great. It was perfect. What do you mean? You can't criticize it.
I know.
Then you rewatch. You're like, oh.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like I was like, oh, they set it up from the beginning. He's gonna the reveal is gonna be he ends up with Robin, and I was right, and I was like, I was right the whole time. And then somebody pointed out, but like, yeah, but the last couple of seasons they set up how bad it was for him to be with Robin, and then I kind of reevaluated. I'm like, oh my god, yeah.
It was the plan the whole time, but that show had good writing episode to episode, but it had terrible show continuity. They didn't have a strong vision, like, for more than a season at a time, or even more than an episode at a time sometimes. Like, characters would have things fundamentally change about them from episode to episode, usually for humor's sake, but I didn't like... I was critical of that aspect of that show.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail too hard the flashbacks.
No, but
I got talking about How I Met Your Mother and Neil Patrick Harris. I had to.
One powerful way I use flashbacks is in my story, A Memory of Mortality. The protagonist is a reanimated soldier who's died so many times he doesn't even remember. He's died so many times he doesn't even remember like anything about his former life.
His OG life, yeah.
Yeah. So it's ambiguous as to whether he's actually, yeah, I reveal it in there. Actually, now that I remember, it was originally going to be ambiguous as to which side he started on originally. But basically, what I'm getting at here is the flashbacks. There's several of them that happen. Basically, he gets like a PTSD like triggering event. He sees something, somebody asks him something, he does something, he finds something, stuff like that. And each of these like events kind of like triggers involuntary memories from his life, and it like it's more and more and more like the things that matter, because like what are going to be the first strongest and clearest images that flash in your mind with your core personality and all that. It's going to be stuff like your wife, your child, what you love doing.
Important things. Yeah.
Well, in your story, it's they're breadcrumbs to like the mystery.
It's
and
like
each one,
even in go ahead.
Well, in each one, like just it reveals a little bit more about himself, sure, but it wakes him up too and progresses the story. But what were you gonna say, Kahuna?
Oh, it's like, well, I like flashbacks can be used to greater or lesser context. I think it partially depends on the medium. Like in something like Stormlight Archive, it's used in long form to reveal things about the characters and to like they're usually thinking about it, or it's relevant to things that are happening in the current timeline. So you'll have whole portions of the book that are all flashback. And then
Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Like that's kind of that was using them in a very unique way. Whereas it's like all the memories were, flashbacks essentially. And we're kind of rewinding his time to, reveal a secret in a different timeline format than typical, like playing it backwards.
Also, Tim Allen says that Kahuna, you're based with a natural deep voice. No need to enhance it. Besides, you're mead-worthy. I appreciate the mead-worthy, but there's nothing wrong with a little.
I have kind of an interesting one, and I don't know if any other musicians have done this before, but it
Surely
was
not.
Dance Gavin Dance's seventh album. Probably not. There's the last song on the album, and they've made many albums since then, but the last song on the album, whenever they get to the tail end of the song and they're going into kind of almost like an extended outro of sorts, they're playing the song, but then they pull previous choruses from like all of their other albums' biggest hits, and they mash it all together. So it's like a flashback at the end of that song. And I thought that would be so cool for a band, their final record, their final song, to have like a flashback mashup of all their choruses put together in one song if they could make the pieces fit. I thought that was really cool, and this talk reminded me of that. Great song, Evaporate, Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah, I like when bands are willing to experiment a little bit with stuff like that.
It's really cool. And if you know their discography, it's just like, whoa. What a concept. Yeah, whoa.
Sweet, dude. What's mine say? Dude, sweet. Sorry, that's
no way.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
I'll say just with, and I said it in the beginning, it's the most important thing with a typical flashback thing is how does it deal with the pacing, and then also don't do what anime do and use it for lazy, cheap storytelling tactics to fill in more.
You're risking losing people. That's the main thing. If you do it that anime and manga way, that is, yeah. It's like Attack on Titan. I do like it, but it's criminal how often they do that.
The cheap way I did it, and I think it was still effective. You guys might be able to call me out on this or correct me if I'm wrong.
Shit. Okay.
It's actually in my comic, the story that my comic is adapted from. It's essentially a parade of characters, a lot of it, like basically the first portion of it anyway. And so in a short story, I was like, I have all these characters, like I had like a full book worth of characters, and I think they're all cool and they all kind of have their thing or whatever. So I essentially had to, like, as soon as they were introduced, I had to have like the character reminisce on something about them in a realistic way. So it's like, this person shouted something over here. This is what they're known for, and I gave them each like one paragraph. So I was very quick in and out, like just trying to explain like essentially what they're known for and not dwell on it too much, like one, maybe two paragraphs, something like that. And it was really interesting because it was like writing short stories within a short story. And I loved it.
You're trying to show a story in like 3 or 4 images at most, usually.
Essentially, yeah, like 1 page in the comic, or maybe 2 pages in the comic.
Well, it's like, again, I'll bring up my favorite Superman comic. That's All Star. They show the entire history, like backstory of Superman on 1 page or 2 pages. I can't remember if it's a 1-page or 2-page spread, but it's incredible. It's all in one. Like, every essential element is there. We all already know it, so it works. But it's beautiful. Like, every element you really need is in the image somehow, and it just works. Freaking brilliant.
Typically speaking, it's like, don't make the flashback scene longer than the normal scene.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it short and simple, especially for the flashback. Typically, obviously things that can break the rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just reacting to the comment. That's all.
No.
Oh, okay. I couldn't really, like, soiled my pants. Is that what that was?
Soil work? Like, you got to get out there, get your hands dirty, man. It's a grassroots movement.
That just makes you a beta cuck.
I love that button. Thank you. Oh. He was so excited. I saw the light in his eyes die.
I know, dude. Every time I see Justin get excited, I'm like, "Get the clip ready."
But yeah, no. John, any? You're the guest. Any other subjects you want to talk about, or anything story related, or even something entertainment related that you want to talk
You guys
about.
were bringing up anime a lot and manga.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a generational thing.
Yeah.
I don't really read manga, but in the 80s, I think it was Eclipse Comics or first, I forget, they brought in like the first wave. Back then they called it Japanimation, and Japanime,
Yeah.
before the real terms.
They got all those animus from that Japanimation over there in the Orient.
I read like Lone Wolf and Cub, Area 88, Maya the Psychic Girl, Barefoot Gen. Like I don't know if that's even first wave or whatever, but that's what came to America first. And now I'm wondering, you guys are a lot younger than me. Do you know anybody your ages or younger who even read comics, or is everybody reading manga?
More people are reading manga now.
Mhm.
More people for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I read comics and manga, but even like I'm doing a big manga reading project. I'm comparing like the first volume of maybe 22 to 25 series.
I mean, I read
doing the whole
comics
thing
as
there.
a kid, but
I don't follow any of the problem is like it's not worth it to follow DC or Marvel anymore. So I
Right.
don't do that
Yeah.
anymore. So
Well, it's like
What I
I was New 52, and then it was just whole thing. Yeah.
Do any of you have kids? And if so, do your kids read manga or comics?
Mine's not old enough yet.
My kids are too young. They're my oldest is learning how to read. I think comics will help with that. But yeah.
My nephews, one of them is sort of into comics, but they're not. I don't know. They're almost like adaptations of books. So there's like novels for kids and young adults, and so it's like a comic version of the story instead of reading the actual book. But in terms of classics or characters or even stories you would know the names of, or I would. I can't think of it, but I don't know how you get them unless somebody puts the book in their hands. I don't know where kids would even find them nowadays.
Well,
bookstores now.
That's a problem.
When you go, when you go into the, you go.
That red looks nice.
I was gonna say, because like comics, especially when I was younger, it's just like, well, that's the great alternative if you're dyslexic. You got more picture.
You were
word,
also lesdistic.
I got these big Coke bottle glasses so it's like audiobooks, movies, video games, and comics for your boy over here. Because otherwise, I take 10 years to read the chapter to any book.
Audiobooks are a life send, dude.
Oh yeah.
And what I was gonna say before is that we have every reason to be uptight about manga, but the reality is a lot more people are just reading this format in general, and I think manga transfers well to comics too, like in a traditional Western sense. It's just like what you guys are saying. That where do you find them? You don't find them. You walk into a bookstore and it's mostly manga, and it's because they know that's been marketed.
Or you go based off a recommended. Like in manga, the story you don't have to like if you buy a manga, you just and you want to continue the story, you don't have to buy 7 or 8 other series in order to know what's going on. That's part of the mess of American comics,
dude.
Right now.
I think they're also cheaper.
Yeah, like for
they're making a really cheap
$8 to
paper,
$12,
no
you're getting one volume, and it's hundreds of pages, and some of the art's like small and cheap, but it's serviceable. The store, the lowest rating I've given any of the manga I've been reading so far. We can't see it, but
the pages are all invisible.
Well, it's like if you go with a big boy too, which is 3 volumes technically, but Berserk. Ooh,
I got all my Berserk books. Yeah,
Berserk.
I mean, that's a little bit
like
more
600 or 700.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is 3 volumes in one technically, but it's like 700 pages of artwork and story, which is insane.
Yeah, this is three. Much story.
And it's not confusing. Like you know, Full Metal Alchemist. I could get Full Metal. Start with number 1, follow it up with number 2, follow it up with number 3.
I think it ends at like 14 or something.
And it ends, and it has a satisfying end. Like,
it doesn't have to keep selling. It is its own thing. It starts, it finishes, and it's perfect.
So
I love Full Metal. Honestly.
Here's another thing I preach to a lot is what Japan is doing differently is there's a lot of anime that's one season. And the reason because is generally speaking, they make anime to sell the manga. Like they're not really making anime to make anime. They're making it because that's going to sell the manga, and then they're going to forget about doing the anime
Are
production.
you referring to Death Note and like Full Metal Alchemist?
No, Death Note was an anime original, I believe.
No,
Okay.
it was not.
Well,
it?
they're one
Okay.
season, right? They're both like.
But-
a
No,
one
it's
season.
it's a complete story. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
there's I don't know. They're not usually if they're popular enough as an anime, they'll like even so they'll give it a second season. But there's a
they've
reason
started
why-
to change their stance, but yeah, for decades, Battsauce is right. It would be they would make an anime to promote the toys and or the manga or to sell other products.
So there was a
wasn't like-
4-year
yeah.
time wait for season 2 of Attack on Titan. That's because they did Attack on Titan season 1 to sell the manga, and it was so successful. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
give us a freaking season 2, and they're like,
They
we
had
don't
to.
have the books written yet. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I've never Matt from Metal Movies and Brewskis brought up Hellboy as his favorite comic, and
it's
I've
great.
never read Hellboy. It always had some like kind of French inspired art, so I've always been curious, but I've never actually read it.
Yeah, it's hard to read the comics because there's so many comics and it's a series of mini-series. But they made these great library editions. I think they're up to 6. You could just pick them up. You know, I think Hellboy is great. It's a one big long epic story. You know, and then there's ancillary characters like you could get the Abe Sapien series. I think that went for like 60 issues. The Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense comic. I think that went for 100 or so issues. It's so good.
So
we're also seeing something else weird in the comic industry, or even like ebook kind of industry, and that is like you're seeing series go from a place like like those virtual comics or those e-comic or like webtoons. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Webtoons. Yeah. And like you get stories like this that come over from that, and they give it like the ultimate like comic book treatment. Pages, interesting.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
You get rid of me again, AC.
You messed up the arrangement.
It's the touch screen on my laptop. I'm fat fingering it, guys. I'm just giving it that.
Well,
Yeah.
AC, I've seen your hands. You can't fat finger anything. I have. Look at my hands.
Somehow, when I have a touch screen of an entire laptop, it's still happening. So
That's your eyesight. That's not your hands.
Yeah, I was just saying my eyesight earlier, so that's on me.
One thing I was going to add to the confusion as well too is like when you're a kid, and this happened to me a bunch. You got parents that go get like, you know, they're out in the store and they're like, okay, little Joey likes, you know, we can't get him to read books, but we can get him to read comics. Comes back with a Teen Titans comic because she heard that I like Teen Titans.
Issue 214.
I don't know where the hell it is. It looked really cool, and it was more than just like you know, a chapter. It was, you know, like a volume, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Where the hell is the rest of the story?
I still
to say, I don't know.
Answer that question. My first issue of the X-Men was X-Men 114.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you know, it was Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Terry Austin, and the X-Men were assumed dead in the Savage Land. And it starts out with Beast and Jean Grey talking to Xavier, letting him know that the X-Men are dead. And then they cut to the Savage Land. They don't have costumes on. They're dressed in you know, caveman outfit.
Rough clothing.
I had no freaking clue what was going on, and I loved it. It was worth the work, you know. So I said I got to get other X-Men comics, and the next X-Men comic I got was 119. So 5 issues later, I just happened.
You're onto something here, John. You're onto something here. I know exactly what you're talking
But
about.
what I'm saying is the comics were so good that I wanted to know more. It was so. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like I went out of I would lie to my mom and hop on the bus when I wasn't allowed to be on the bus to go to the next town or to look for comics to come back because it was fun to find all this stuff. But you know,
so that was the problem. Like with me though, is like my town is in the woods. Like there is no taking a bus anywhere. There is no like you're not old enough to drive. Guess what? It depends what your mom or dad where they want to take you, and it wasn't the comic shop. So, so I never I didn't have the resources to get that. Yeah, and not to mention it was like super difficult. You know,
if I were to get my kids to buy comics, I would have them read graphic novels. So a solid story beginning to end, and it does end. That's the way to go.
I believe what happened with me. I think John's onto something here, and it actually makes me think that it's probably a little
Just
bit
gonna grab a
intended.
soda.
Okay. It makes me feel like it's a little bit maybe partially intended with the business model that mainstream comics have kind of formulated over the years. But this whole idea, Bats, that you're talking about also, how it's the same thing that doesn't work for you that maybe works for other people, like John's example, because immediately when he was talking, I remembered why like I originally like started watching Game of Thrones. It wasn't because like people were necessarily talking about it. I just went to band practice one day with my band, and his roommate just had it on, and as I was staying the weekend for band practice, we were just watching wherever he was at in it, just while we were chilling and resting. And
Well, a story
hanging
also
out.
it has to be a super banger, right? Like so,
That's
like
the
similar
thing,
thing happened with Berserk, right? Like I remember my roommate watch with headphones watching the final scene in Berserk, and I'm like, "What is he watching?" I'm like, I need
Exactly,
to
yeah.
watch this.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, there could be like a really good story, and like, what if like the only scene I saw was like kind of a boring part of it, right? Like
Yeah,
during the
true.
lull, and then it's like then I never ventured up. But I mean, that's a case by case situation. But
And one of my favorite comics of all time is Avengers 165. It's the middle issue of a 3-story, trilogy. And I didn't get the issue before, and I never got. Well, I did get the issue afterwards, but I read that over and over again. Still one of my favorite comics. It was so good, and they did a good job of letting me know what was happening in the issue beforehand. That old Marvel method of just like, oh, you robbed the bank last issue, and then that's why we're after, like a little bit of awkward, but
Yeah,
it was so good. And then for like years, because back then, if you missed an issue, you missed an issue. Like it took, I'm not joking, it took me like years before I got 166 to see how it concluded. And if anybody read that issue, the last panel was Thor throwing a hammer at Count Nefaria, and Count Nefaria's like this. And I'm like, I gotta know. But
gotta know.
I didn't know what was happening. I just jumped in the middle. It's like watching 3 episodes of one season of Game of Thrones. But it was
it feels very reminiscent of like cartoons back in the day for us. Like you miss like the airing of the episode, and it's like, when does it come back?
On Dragon Ball Z.
But then you want to know. Yeah. It's
but like you don't have Netflix, like or it's like a Japanese thing, so it's like there's no stores that are going to sell it. Like,
well, my mother would watch a soap opera. There was no reruns for soap operas. You missed the episode. So she would watch these soap operas. There were 7 kids. She didn't watch them every day, and she would talk to my aunt. What happened? So she was in a coma and she came back. You know what I mean? I kind of miss that. Like we kind of have everything so accessible that there is no like chasing after that missing comic, or like I remember the original 12 Star Wars action figures came out, and I had to get the Sand.
Oh, in the Millennium Falcon box.
Yeah, it came out, and they were on that stupid stand that you could send away. I was missing the Sand Person, the Tusken Raider. And again, I remember lying to my mom, going to the next door to the Play World, getting on the bus, and you just like R2D2, 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 R2D2. Oh, Sand Person, I got it. You know what I mean? That was fun. But nowadays, I want the Sand Person. I just go on eBay, or I go online to Amazon, and I get it.
John, history repeated itself with anime back in the 90s because kids had no ability to get anime. It was like your friend might have the season that he got from a bootlegger. It might be translated. It might not. Like it was this whole thing trying to get anime. Yeah.
Bats, I have my own story of this. There was a kid at school. We were geeking out about Dragon Ball Z because I was I was at the age where I could watch. I watched Goku turn Super Saiyan. Like,
of course, I did too. I was there.
It was fucking awesome. I loved it. Yeah, I was there when the magic was written. No, but he was telling me about this like mystical secret Dragon Ball Z movie that he had. Yeah, and I'm just like, you're a fucking liar. And then
there's this guy named Lee.
This is
he's a legendary Super Saiyan.
He's like Super Saiyan 3, and his hair goes like really long, and fucking there's this one Trunks character with a sword, and you're like, no. As a kid, you're like, no, that's way too badass. That's not happening. And then
I was that kid.
He showed up with a bootleg, It was a bootleg
Yeah.
of it, and I brought it home. I watched it. It was all in Japanese, and I'm like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever.
The sacred text.
Well, for us, we were just had the first half of the Frieza saga, so we had to wait for a break for them to translate the second half
Oh
of it.
my
So we weren't
God,
even we weren't even there yet. And then it was one morning we were watching, Telemundo or something. It was like before church. We had the flipping through just for the 10 minutes.
They got it
would
earlier in
stop,
Spanish.
and Dragon Ball's on in Spanish. It's actually in Japanese with Spanish subtitles. I'm like, whoa, I don't recognize
Yeah.
this. And it's going, and it was the Cell saga, and Cell shows up, and he's like, and it's the
Cell
same thing. I
saga
went and told
was
my friends, I
brutal.
was like, guys, on the Spanish channel, they're like, dude, shut up, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, no, I saw it. It was real. It was there. My brother saw it. Like, you guys are liars. We had to
Dude,
wait like 5 years to find. Like, I told you, man. I told you. And they're like, oh, you're
It's so
still an
crazy
idiot.
when they're not lying, Emily. It's so crazy when they're not lying, and they actually pull out the mystical documents or whatever. But Bats, you're right. You're right too, Bats. Cell literally was like killing entire cities, devouring them with his tail and shit. That was wild.
Deflating people. Yeah, it's insane to think that we're all like, oh, we're watching this as it comes out. We're getting the story fresh. And there's like millions of people that already know like the future season, and you're like, that doesn't exist.
It's like getting fresh sushi.
When people would try to spoil shit too. I hated that.
You guys watch the Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, in passing once or twice. I mean, very casual.
Did it make you want to read the Silmarillion, or you know what I mean?
It did.
It did.
I've always loved The Hobbit. I love The Lord of the Rings, but I never read the Silmarillion. And then you
Hobbit is best kids book.
It's hard to hit. It's hard.
You read the Silmarillion, you're like, oh my god, it's worth the work. And that's the way I look at comics. But to tie back to what you were saying, like you picked up a random issue of the new Teen Titans. Apparently, it wasn't worth the work. You know what I mean?
It was. I didn't have. Literally, I had no resource. There's no computer. No. I didn't have any. There was only one store that I could ride my bike to, and it was like a convenience store. Like I'm in the woods, so it's like it just wasn't. I'm thinking, I'm like, shit, I gotta figure out which comic that was. I tried looking for it like a year ago or something like that, and I couldn't find it.
For Free Comic Book Day this year, I went down to a store and it was packed, and Billy Tucci was there, and I got to meet Billy Tucci. Billy's like, hang out. So I got to hang out with Billy Tucci. So I'm just waiting for Billy, and I started talking to this guy, and he's like, I'm not into comics. My daughter's into comics. They pointed to his daughter. She was a young girl. So I was like, I wanted to ask you questions, but I don't want to be a creep. So I was like, is it okay if I talk to your daughter? He's like, yeah, sure. So he brought her over, and I'm like, how old are you? She said 16. I said, oh, I just wanted to ask you, what I'm into comics, and I showed her, I have my own comic being made and stuff like that. I said, but why aren't you into manga? Everybody else your age is into manga. She goes, I don't know. She goes, I picked up a comic, and she said the same thing as me. I got so drawn into it, and I forget what it was. It was like Thor 118 or something like that. She goes, and then she goes, I like the numbering system because I knew each number meant a month went by. So like if they referred to something that I liked, and it was Thor 107, then I knew it was 11. 7 months earlier, and I knew how expensive it was. She goes, and now, like, they just restart, they renumber. And this was a 16-year-old girl. She's like, the comics in the 80s and 90s, I love them. She goes, but the comics after like 2005, they're rebooting, and confusing, and I don't. So she's like a 16-year-old girl going after Bronze Age comics.
Yeah, super base.
Sorry.
But she basically said it's worth the work and it's worth the effort, and they made it easy. She goes, nowadays, like if I was to go get an X-Men comic and I got maybe the 4th issue, okay, so I'll get X-Men number 5. She goes, but it's the wrong series, or it's a different miniseries.
Yeah, right. Again, that's like the only way I read American comics anymore is in graphic novel form, like where it's a collection. That's the way to do it.
Indies, yeah.
I mean, as you can see, like I got these stacks and stacks of
I used to have like maybe one of those stacks, but not all of them.
Comics are shooting themselves in the they're making the barrier to entry too tough. They should just keep the numbers and make good stories. Like I started collecting Fantastic Four with 157. You know what I mean? It was just good. It was fun. It had a monster on the cover. It had the Fantastic Four fighting. You know what I mean? Like this whole fake thing that they need a number one. It's crap. You know.
Yeah.
I will say, a part of me doesn't want to try to learn what those other comics were of that story for Teen Titans because I'm afraid it was maybe trash.
The Teen Titans comics are way. The Teen Titans comics are nothing like the show.
Well, I've looked into. I've done all the comics of the original Teen Titans. I've done that in past 10 years or so. This was definitely more newer stuff. Like this, Brother Blood was like a teenager.
This is right behind me. This is my comic book room.
Damn. Well, and I will say the thing about
I maybe had like a box worth at some point, but my wife donated it along with all of my books. So,
I'll say with these manga readers,
they're not.
The majority of them are not just manga readers; they are comic readers. It's just now.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
mainstream comics aren't producing. But like, if the mainstream comic industry started producing, which would help out the indie scene as well, they will go to American comics. It's just a matter of
it's like the Japanese aren't afraid to tell good stories, and they're not caught up on all this ideological BS like a lot of the big Western guys right now. That manga is the creative storytelling force that American comics was for decades and no longer is. That's the truth.
I will say though, something really cool you're talking about jumping into like issue 100 or issue 200 and you don't know where you're at with the indie scene. Some of these books, they're fresh. Like you're getting issue number 1 from like series after series after series, and it's cool because it's fresh, it's new, and some people are on, maybe either up to issue 10 in some cases, but the fact that you can jump in and you're on the ground is really cool. And you don't have
to talk to them
Yeah, you can just reach out.
Wow. I will say this. Indie creators in the comic scene, no matter how many issues you get, at some point you can pick a good spot in the story and then release just like what manga
collection.
Does. A collection, yes. So you get
making more money.
The first arc or the first season, right? Is the way I look at it.
Daniel is planning on doing that with G Sedai, which I really enjoy.
But yeah, all these manga readers, they're just comic readers. They're potential customers.
Yeah.
Yep. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah. So the more manga readers we get is the more comic book readers we get.
We just have to stop letting the East drink our milkshake. You know what I mean? We have to learn. They learned from us, and now
can we have that on a T-shirt? We gotta stop letting the East drink our milkshake.
It's a constant give and take, right? Like we gave them Godzilla.
That's fair, dude. Yeah, that's fair.
No, guy, like read history. Japanese and Chinese steal everything. Historically true.
Yeah.
It's like ramen is not Japanese. It was a Chinese immigrant, and we really like the way you make these Japanese noodles. Actually, I'm from No, you are now Japanese.
Hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So.
South Korea tell you all about Japan's stealing ways, but that's another story.
All right, end it on the Namkin trials.
We could just talk about non-king as well. I'll just toss that in there.
We are way over time. Kahuna, you want to usher us out?
Usher? No, hold on. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us aboard the Iron Seas. Thank you, John's Longbox, for joining us here as our guest. And thank you, y'all, for joining us. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Woo!
He's building bridges with every word he speaks. From comic books to culture, for the future he seeks. With every panel, his legacy cries. John Boo, a patriarch, a father takes flight. A specter of culture, he conjures a fight. Every heroic tale, a flickering light. The ink flows like blood from the tip of his pen. A father's burden, his message to send. A father's burden, his message to send. The world craves a hero's embrace, and the father's heart will find the right place. With ink as his roller, with dreams in his sight, dreams in his sight, balance his panels. With patriarch's light, with every panel, his legacy cries. John Brew, a patriarch, a father takes flight. Through trials and triumphs, he walks on a thread between tales of power and the tears that he shed. A choice that defines him, a heart filled with fire, to be the hero they need, or the father desire. The hero they need, the father desire. The world craves a hero's embrace, and the father's heart will find the right place. With ink as his roller, with dreams in his sight, dreams in his sight, balance his panels. With patriarch's light, the world aflame, a hero's sacrifice, but his family's love is worth the price. In the long box of life where the stories unfold, he's the patriarch, he broke the mold. His laughter rings, his tales ignite. On blue shines on, burns through the blight. He's building bridges with every word he speaks. From comic books to culture, for the future he seeks. In the long box of life where the stories unfold, he's a patriarch, he broke the mold. His laughter rings, his tales ignite. John Blower shines on, burns through the blight. He's building bridges with every word he speaks. From comic books to culture, for the future he seeks. John Brewer shines on, burns through the blight. Sean's long box so long, every lady's delight.